Everyone?
Good evening.
Good evening. At this time, I'll call to order the regularly scheduled committee meeting for the Village of Midlothian, February 6, 2019 at 7 p.m. Roll call, please.
Trustee
Deputy Clerk Blackie.
Trustee Cavany? Here. Trustee Crowley? Here. Trustee Gillis?
Here.
Trustee Ivan?
Here.
Trustee Killee? Trustee Kreis? Here. Mayor LaRue?
Here.
You have a quorum.
Please stand for a pledge of allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. At this time, I'll open the floor to public comment. If you'd like to be made a matter of public record, please stand and state your name and address. Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Diane Midlothian. I live in Homer Glen. I live at 15001 Wilco Drive in Homer Glen. Okay, and the reason I'm here, good evening, first of all, I'm executor of my brother's estate, and his property is located at 3942 147th Place. We have a contract on the house to sell it. The buyer sent us an email that he received from his loan officer. The loan officer is asking for a clarification on the zoning on this property. So this is how we understand it. This is a residential property within an R5 multiple family zoning. Now with this zoning, we understand that the property and the surrounding 12 properties would have to be rebuilt to specifications of R5 zoning if they were damaged more than 50%. So I understand this is a 12-year issue. I think it started in 07, 09, yeah. So what they're looking for is a clarification. The loan officer is looking for a clarification on the zoning. I have copies of the email if you would like to see it.
Sure. Yeah. Let our attorney look at it.
I was just saying, the question is, it sounds like it has to be rebuilt as a multi-family, so you cannot rebuild it as a single-family home?
As the zoning is currently, yes.
As it
Correct.
right now?
Right.
That's the issue.
That's the issue, so. And
Super.
so, right now, we're in limbo, we can't do anything with this home.
The underwriters for the loan, they don't like the idea that it has to be rebuilt as a multiple family home.
Correct.
Right.
And we're acutely aware of this. This happened, half this board wasn't even here when that all happened. Superintendent Weiner, we were lucky to get him last year. He's been bringing a lot of this to our attention. We've started addressing the zoning issues in town, and that area will be one that is on our list to look at as well. He has been, I've learned a lot from him. We've talked a lot about spot zoning and other things, and we're aware of the issue. It just takes time to go through the process of getting it rezoned.
It will be rezoned?
If the board agrees, if the majority of the board agrees to it. The idea 10, 12 years ago, I guess I understand what the thinking was, but it just never happened.
Yeah.
And now we're 10, 12 years later and nothing's changed. So I think, in my opinion, we'd like to rezone those areas back to R2, single-family residence. Unfortunately, it will take some time to get through the process of.
Well, can we have some kind of letter that's stating that you are in the process of doing that so we can move on and sell this house? Because we're in limbo, we can't do anything right now.
I'm not sure that's.
We've issued letters in the past for individuals in your circumstances in which we acknowledge that the property is what is known as a legal non-conforming, which means that it's a legal property. It just can't, the real issue comes into what happens if it gets more than 50% destroyed. And that is a bank loan issue. Obviously, first of all, I understand your circumstance. You've done nothing wrong, and you're in a tough situation. But at the same time, the village board has to make that decision. The village board cannot have its zoning actions contingent upon loan officers determining whether they want to issue a loan on it or not. So that's the difficulty that we have.
Would it be, if somebody purchased insurance that had coverage for any kind of upgrade, you think that should cover an underwriter?
And it's completely up to the
Up to the
underwriter.
bank,
It's
yeah.
completely up to the bank.
So this is like a bank-to-bank issue, some banks
Yeah.
wouldn't bother them?
You hit the nail right on the head. It's a bank-to-bank issue. This happens regularly in Chicago, in every municipality. The zoning code sometimes is changed because the municipal government wants to change the look of a community or wants to make it better, upgrade it, add different standards for size of buildings or commercial developments. So they make changes. Now, obviously, to do that and declare your property illegal would be taking it away from you. And there's no intent for the village to do that. But yet, at the same time, if every bank officer had the ability to say, you know what, we don't like the way the Village of Midlothian changed their zoning code, so therefore change it back, then essentially there would be no more power for the village board to do anything in terms of changing the zoning. Understand your situation. It's the board's prerogative. The reason why it's not simple to correct is because the board has to make a determination that that's for the future what they want those houses to be. And again, that is not something that typically that
Are you going to be working on that?
We've been talking about it for a little while now. Superintendent Weiner gave us, all the board members, a zoning map to look through, to try to identify other areas in town that have similar issues. It is something that we are discussing and looking to take care of, yes.
the bank can't, we can provide you a letter to the underwriter letting them know that your property is legal. It's not conforming now, but it's legal, and which means that the village is not going to take any action.
Right, and I think the email we have said, they more or less stated that, but they said it was more than 50% destroyed, and you had to rebuild, then you would have to rebuild as a local family.
Right. And that's where some of the underwriters want to get involved in zoning.
So that's where we're at.
So the village could offer them a letter of legal nonconforming, and they could take that to the bank and see what happens, but the bank's not gonna.
We're open to try anything.
Yeah, we'll do that. We'll do that for you. I don't know if that's going to solve your problem, but we'll do that for
It's a start.
Right.
So who else could we talk to then, other than coming? I mean,
This is it.
you. This is it, yeah.
Well, thank you, maybe we'll be.
So,
If we had any other questions, then,
Superintendent Weinert? Right.
you know, yes, we've been bugging him.
so 3942 147th Place.
Right.
Correct.
Right, that'd be the north side of the street there. I assume all those are R5 over there.
The whole,
The whole block.
square there got
Yeah.
rezoned, yes.
Kathleen, I did send you an email. Did you get my email? I sent you an email, a copy of the email from the loan office.
Did you send it today?
I sent it yesterday. Because I noticed you were building and zoning. so
Right.
I said that she would give you a heads up.
I did
what
check
was
my
going on.
emails yesterday. Not sure if I got it or not.
Okay. So maybe-
And just to be clear, this board, I don't think, no, I don't know. Most of this board did not do that. So that it wasn't something that this board said, we're rezoning you. It was pursuant to, I think, a comprehensive plan 12 years ago, approximately 10, 12 years ago, and that was the initiative that they had.
Was it a comprehensive plan?
No,
or
it was
downtown?
actually
A TOD or-
the downtown, a transit-oriented development plan that was funded by the Regional Transportation Authority. And that, at that time, the conventional wisdom was, everybody was condos around your train station, and the plan called for, some
Just kind of
7-story
surprised that
buildings.
That you wouldn't let us build a single-family home. It's nice that you have the option that you could go bigger, like commercial, right? But that you can't build a single-family, it just seemed odd.
Because the size requirements change with the different R ratings, so
Yeah.
the higher the R rating, the larger the lot you need to build a residence on, so we're all vast majority of the properties in town are 50 by 136.
Yeah, right, yeah.
And R5 requires more than that.
So what is the difference between the different zoning? What is, the house, is it R1 or R2?
Single families are R1 and R2, and then R3, 4, and 5 are multifamilies, various sizes of multifamilies.
Oh, I see,
Yeah.
R1 and R2 are.
So R5 is the highest.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so
Well,
then,
whatever you get over to you guys.
get a letter from,
Yeah.
Yeah, the,
Want to get the names up? Nick, you probably already have it, right?
you already know it's.
Anyone else? George?
Question on the zoning still. If you have to change all the zoning all at once, or you do like one area change back to where it needs to be, and then change the area, you're going to change all of them all at the same time. You said there's multiple areas you want to look at. Did they look at individual areas, say, okay, let's look at this area, change it or not change it, then look at this area, change it or not change it,
We could.
instead of trying to do them all at once?
It would be more efficient to do them all at once, but we haven't identified yet all of them.
However, I don't know if you've been to the last couple meetings, but Superintendent Weiner did make each one of us our own zoning map, and we are all in the process of reviewing that right now. The zoning map that we have in place right now is going to be adopted, because we have to adopt it, we're required to adopt it. We're going to take a look at that zoning map then, and we're going to find all the areas where we think we need to make some adjustments for the better good of the
The
village.
next thing they do is like, piecemeal, it's all at one time, so it won't take so long. Like for these people here, like
Yeah,
months to do it.
right.
You look at this area, change it, now let's put it there, other areas and change it.
Yeah, we're going to try and get that determined in the next, 2 to 3 weeks, if that's the best course of action, but we certainly can do it that way.
All right, thank you.
Dee?
Ladies, I own the floor, no, 3824 West 37. I'm asking again to be considered for liquor license, to have baby machines, and the reason being is I'd like to stay in business. The flower shop would always come first. I wouldn't want to be known, I would want to be known as a coffee shop, not a bar. And I spoke of limiting my alcohol sales. I would be a safe place for the commuters to wait. Again, I want to see business. Sales are down and they're not improving. I have no intention of hurting anybody near me. If anything, I may help them. I applied over a year ago and waited this last year out thinking I would get a yes. Now, I should have waited because I've gotten no. Everybody thinks I'm doing great over there. I do great work, but I'm not doing great. I shouldn't do business anymore as a flower shop alone. So I'm asking again to be reconsidered for this. And what else I would have to do, and there's like 25 of them, and what's one more, and I don't want to be known as a gaming place either. It would be, I'm trying to generate some income so I can stay there. Put a lot of sweat and tears and hard work into the place, and it's really tough. So, there's 25 out there. I don't know what one more would be, and I'm curious to ask how many are women-owned. If I was to get signatures from people, residents, that think it's a good idea and agree to it, is that an option? I've been applying for jobs. I went last week because I can't do this anymore. And that's my story.
No, we certainly don't want you to leave town either. We'd like to do whatever we can to help you as a flower shop.
It's been a full 7 years, and yeah, I put a lot into it, and I hate to leave.
I know Trustee Cavaney's talked to you about marketing more on Facebook and stuff like that. But currently,
Flower
there's,
shops are closing left and right. I know that Walden closed over the past year in Illinois.
currently there's a business going to be opening down the street from you on 147th that's going to get that license. It's going to be whatever he's calling
Across
it,
the street.
near Cousins on 147th.
I thought I was on the list, though.
There's no list. It's just that they had already applied through
Prior to
another,
you, it was over a year ago.
they've been working with the land bank, and they finally got the property, and they're going to turn it into, we think, some sort of bistro, banquet room or something like that. And they're getting,
I mean, I'm not going to be this huge gaming place and knowing that no one has a, and then I think it would be good for me to be open a long time and the computers can come in and wait and.
well, if I hear from the majority of the board that they agree to that, then I
And
would
what
certainly,
would that be?
they'll have to let me know that they are in favor or not in favor.
That's a private,
Well, I'm just going to state, I brought this up a couple months ago, that I'm not opposed to it. I'm opposed to gaming cafes, but I'm not opposed to having the gaming machines in a business if the majority of their sales are from something else. And we actually have an ordinance in place that
I understand.
maybe 60% has to come from
And I hope that won't be a
non-gaming.
problem.
And I think I understand what you're saying about flower shops. You're probably competing like travel agents with all of the online business, so it's,
People come looking floors and I'm like the fourth one down, there's order gatherers out there who steal our orders. And they, take a percentage of them.
so I'm just, that's my feeling. I don't want to see you close. And I know there is a florist in Oglala and Cicero that has gaming, and I've never been in there, but I'm not opposed. I don't want to see another vacant storefront.
Yeah, I'm the longest standing tenant in the last, I want to say 20 years over there. In that space, which is a very nice space.
Okay, I'll talk to the rest of the board and see if they're, because they have to vote to approve a license, so.
So we'll want that voted.
May I ask a question? Do you have some sort of plan as to how you would rearrange your shop and where you would
I
put
have a
the?
nice little area that's would serve well, that there's enough room and it would be separate from, I mean, it would be like a flower shop, you don't walk in and you see the games, it would be off to the side. And like I said, I'd like to be a coffee shop and then, from day one, I thought of it, but I would be putting in a ton more hours and with no guarantee of enough revenue to cover all those hours and everything, is involved.
I'm not sure what your hours are now, like what time do you close in the evening now?
I was looking 6.
Okay,
6,
so-
7. I would stay open late
Okay.
and I'd be available for, those late commuters who are waiting for a ride and they can walk over and it's, a safe place and
As we-
open and,
I came to your shop and we sat down, we talked, and we looked over your area, and
yeah, I wish
I explained to you, that when you get gaming machines, that they want those gaming machines on the whole time that your liquor
Right,
license
and
is.
I understand
Which
that.
means you have to be there from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m., 2 a.m.
Well, I think it's
10 a.m.
whatever you want. I mean, it wasn't Lisa's, she was just open during her hours.
They have,
Well,
they
yes,
have a lot
I
of
had the
restrictions.
intention of being open late and,
Like I said, I'll talk to the rest of the board members and see if they'd be willing to vote for one. But currently, the one we have would be going to the new development there on 147th. So the board would have to vote to add another license.
is there any, can you give me a time when I'll get it?
I'll talk to him.
I mean, I'm applying for jobs.
I'll talk to them by the end of the week, find out what the feeling is.
I appreciate the time and support that everybody has given me.
Anyone else? See, there's no further public comment. I'll close the floor to public comment. Move on to trustee business. Trustee Kreis.
The first item under my agenda is I provided the board with the proposal for Phase 1 engineering services with Terra Engineering for the Natalie Creek Trail. I'd like to get this up on the agenda for approval next week. This is the culmination of a whole lot of work to get to this point. And once this is executed, then Terra can start the work for the Phase 1. It's going to take approximately 18 months to complete. And this is all of the great work that was done with our Natalie Creek Trail Steering Committee, led by Diane Banta. Yes?
I have a question. I thought that we had gotten a grant to cover this, and that
We did.
Midlothian and the other communities,
We
like
did.
all of our share was like $33,000.
$35,000 each community.
Okay, is that addressed in here? Because I'm looking at this and I'm seeing that they're showing compensation for Phase 1 is $210,600. Two reimbursements.
That's under Terra.
Right.
And they've got it broken down with their subcontractors.
Right, I know that, but they don't, but the confusion I see is this is a legal contract, and by signing this, if the village signs this, the village is obligated to pay $421,000. I don't see any, and I didn't, we just got this, so I didn't get a chance to read it word for word, but I don't see anywhere in here where it references the fact that this is going to be paid for by a grant and that the other three villages are going to be responsible to pay, you know, their proportionate share of X.
Well, that's all identified in the intergovernmental agreement, and it was also,
But wait,
We already had this conversation.
yeah, it was all
First time
identified.
it came up and they rewrote the documents with this exact same conversation.
Right, in the intergovernmental agreement.
okay,
Yes.
but the intergovernmental agreement is between Crestwood, Midlothian, and Oak Forest. This is a contract, this is a legal and binding contract that's only between Midlothian and these engineers. Nowhere, this, what I'm not disagreeing, hold on.
Why the language didn't carry over is my question, because we already had this conversation.
Right, that language,
Well,
hold on, Karen, let me finish. This document needs to reference that IGA, and it also needs to reference the grant that we received. And it needs to reference they still need to outline under compensation items 1, 2, and 3. Okay, I'm not disputing that. But before the acceptance paragraph, there has to be additional language included in this document that states that the compensation is going to be paid for in 2 different methods. They're going to be reimbursed in part by the grant, and then they're going to be reimbursed via the IGA from Midlothian, Crestwood, and Oak Forest, the amounts that we all agreed that we were going to pay. That's what's missing. Because if we sign the document the way it is, the Village of Midlothian is signing the document that the Village of Midlothian will be responsible to pay the $421,000.
All right, well, I will ask Dave Landwehr to add that language. I don't think that will be an issue. I don't, okay? I will ask that he reference the IGA and get that language in there. I'm sure he's done this before.
Right, but I believe he also, okay, hold on a second.
I know that I'm sure they've done this before, only because they were intimate, they did the CalSag Trail, and it was all
Right,
multiple
because
agencies.
I don't see anywhere in here where they're referencing the grant at all. I mean, I'm assuming that a lot of this data that's attached here, all of this different technical data that's attached was also information that was included in the grant documents.
I don't have the grant document here, but
Okay.
I will, and you know what, I'll send him an email, and if I get that revised and I get it to everybody and there's no issues, hopefully we can get it approved next week.
I won't be here next week, and I would really like the opportunity to read through this before the board moves forward to vote on it.
All right.
I mean, I just want to make sure we all understand what this is. I mean,
Okay.
I've been to the meetings, you know I'm in favor of this. I just want to make sure that this contract is worded properly.
Okay, I will ask for the language.
Okay, thank you.
I would have asked for it had I gotten, if he had sent me an email, maybe I could have, but whatever. Okay. Next item, we have an engagement letter for Denzin Solzende for Kedzie Avenue property that I would like to have executed next week as well. Anybody has any questions or there's any discussion?
I have a couple of questions, and maybe this happened when I wasn't here at the last meeting, but looking at the citations of the document where they had to clean up the debris, board up the windows, put up the fence, are we engaging them in services for condemning the property?
No. So what happened was we had the land bank engaged Brett Denzin's firm under abandonment, okay? And what happened with this property is the land bank would have continued down that path at no cost to the village under the abandonment process / statute. If the property owner shows up in court, the abandonment proceedings cease, and then the village has to make a decision. Do you want to continue pursuing it? And if you do, then you're responsible for the attorneys, okay? So they are at the point now in court where they are trying to make the property owner showed up in court. And now the property owners, I know that they had asked, well, the mayor had met with the property owners and they gave you a plan. And we provided that to the attorneys as well, and that really hasn't gone anywhere. And they were going to, they claimed that they were doing regular maintenance on the property, and if you've been over there, it's apparent that there is no maintenance on the property. So now, the last court date, which I believe was January 17th, and Superintendent Weiner, you were there, and the agreed order was entered into where they had to do some work on that property. But now, because it's no longer abandonment, the land bank's liability ceases, and the board had discussed that we wanted to continue because we want that property is a blight, and we need to have that property dealt with. So now we have to continue at our cost to have them represent us and continue in court. Okay?
And this is for building code violations then?
Well, it's for
Anything that-
everything,
yeah.
anything over there.
There's,
So it'd be fire department violations and building code violations and that?
Karen sent, or Trustee Cray sent everyone the order from the judge
Right.
today.
Yeah, they had until the 31st to board up the windows.
And clean up the debris.
Clean up debris, board up windows, and they have another 45 days to put a fence around it to prevent. So that's,
Any more fly dumping.
any more fly dumping.
So again, this is not our call. This is, now it is a Circuit Court of Cook County judge making the calls based on the evidence that the village has presented.
And they'll go back on the 22nd of this month,
They will be back in court February 21st.
first.
And I believe you will probably have to be there that day, and you will probably, before then, we will probably have to provide them with pictures, and
I did it at the last court hearing, and all pictures.
I'm sure they will, I'm sure that the Denson law firm will be asking for the information again. And to my knowledge, nothing has occurred over there.
And if nothing occurs by that court date, then what, we find them?
No, it's in the judge's hands now. So it's their attorney, we engage Denson, and then they will be in there, the superintendent will be there representing the village, and then it's going to be the attorneys and the judge. It's a lawsuit now, so it's between the attorneys and the judge.
I think we'd like to see the property owners take more responsibility instead of us having to constantly go over there and find the violations. I'd like to have them be the ones, or the property management company be the ones that go there all the time to check on the condition of the property and then prove to us that they're abiding. I mean, I don't know how, with the judge, to get the judge to.
Can we ask the judge to?
I think it's all gonna depend on, I cannot predict if they will even show up in court
Right.
on February 21st.
Well, this is my question to Attorney Valadez. When the village goes back to court, can our attorney at Denson or our superintendent ask the judge to ask the property owner to provide us with a bi-weekly or a monthly update, have them go over there, have them send us pictures showing that they are in compliance?
Yes.
Rather than us
Yes,
always having to go over there?
The court could do that, but typically the way that this would operate would be the court will issue an order specifically stating what the property owners have to do.
Okay.
And that would be with regard to repair and securing the property and cleaning it up pursuant to the municipal code, the state municipal code. And so I did have a conversation with Attorney Dennison, and the stage we're at now is that what we were operating on before when we entered the property was under the assumption that it was abandoned and emergency.
Right.
That it was a danger, it was a nuisance, we entered the property. Pursuant to that, we began the abandonment process, which would have been covered for legal fees by the land bank.
Right, I understand
Now we
that.
know that the owner showed up. So the owner showed up, he has his rights to fight us and say, give me a chance to clean it up. That knocks us out of the intergovernmental agreement with the land bank attorneys and puts us on our own to enforce that part.
Right.
So that's where we're at now, and essentially, we are pursuing the objective of having the property brought up to code with regard to being secure, boarded up and clean. And if they don't, if they continue to ignore, then Mr. Dennison will pursue our other remedies. This is the process for which we get to the point in which we can fix the property, lien it, and put a lien on it that would eventually lead to us taking control of the property. This is the process that has to go through, which is that the first instance, the right of the owner is to comply with the judge's order to get it up to code. If they don't do that, then we just keep going and going and going until we get, ultimately under the municipal code, the right to take the property. That's way down the road.
Yeah, it's a very lengthy process. We would hope that we would have, again, we want compliance and cooperative property owners, but I think the history has kind of shown us that it seems to be a little problematic here, and so unfortunately, we have to have a judge making the determinations.
So it would be in our best interest then to follow the court's recommendation or requirements, cleaning up the debris by a certain date.
They have to do it.
They have to do it,
Not us, they do
I
it.
know, I understand
Yeah.
it, but have we taken the steps to documentate on the 31st? Did we see if it was boarded up? If it's
The
not
31st of this month.
Yeah.
January, right.
The way
February,
it
yeah.
should work is that the building superintendent, either in the evening before the court date or actually on the way to court, take photographs to show the condition, walk into court, and when Mr. Dennison presents the case that the owner is in compliance or non-compliance, they have his testimony that he was there this morning or late last night.
And should the building department continue to issue violations on the dates when they're failing to comply?
Absolutely, absolutely.
So we'll be issuing citations, we'll be bringing them to court, and then this law firm will be representing us to make sure.
Well, I don't know, should we be issuing citations? Because I think now it's going to be up to the court. If the court, and it probably, Superintendent, probably wouldn't be a bad idea, I think what you were saying, is to go over there tomorrow maybe and get the pictures, because...
I was there today.
Yeah, nothing has been done.
Nothing's done.
And just have it documented and date stamped that on February, tomorrow, 7th, the property
Still wasn't.
was still not, it was supposed to be done by January 31st.
Well, wait, I thought they got, what was court date?
It was
The court date in January was what date?
17th.
17th, and they had until the 31st
Okay. Okay.
to clean up the debris and repair the windows.
Okay.
So we-
I thought they had 30 days.
14 days,
14
14
days, January
days.
31st, they had to have the windows boarded.
45 days for the fence.
Now, when I was in court, I made a suggestion to the attorney that why don't they clean the property up, and then why don't they put a fence in with driven posts, a gate, and lock it, so you don't have to worry about anybody going on there for graffiti or fighting.
Right.
And then we would see what happens, because then that person who says he wants the building in that, would actually have to spend some hard cold cash to secure the property, which I don't believe is going to happen. If I had a guess based on what I've seen so far.
So the judge agreed to that, put in his order that they had to clean up the place, board up the windows, put up the fence, but they've missed the date for the cleanup and the boarding of the windows.
Correct.
So my question is then, should we continue to write violations after, since he's not done what the...
Well, I don't think,
I think trustee Kreis is correct, that if the court ordered they have this amount of time to comply with the court's order, then you're correct. And that we don't write tickets until the day after.
Okay.
And certainly, if they're not in compliance
So
with the
I
date.
know what you, so I'm not sure what everyone's saying. From what everyone's saying, by the 31st, they were supposed to do A, B, and C.
To board up and
Wait,
replace
just
broken windows.
Let me finish. By the 31st, that wasn't done. Today is the 6th. So on the 1st, the 2nd, the 3rd, the 4th, the 5th, the 6th, should we be writing violations to document that this stuff still isn't done on a daily
The
basis?
answer is yes. The court
Okay.
ordered that it be done by the 31st. They were only protected to the 31st. After that, we may begin writing tickets again.
And that's what we should do, right? Or is that not what we should do?
No, that's what we should do. That's the problem that we've had in the past, is that we don't immediately write the tickets, and so we're put in a position in which we're stuck with the tickets that we have.
So then I have a question. Who do I say?
Property owner.
property owner.
On the record.
Does the guy legally own the building?
Well,
It's not a person, it's an entity.
Yeah,
Yeah,
whatever
it's-
Does that entity own the building?
that's what it says by the recorder of deeds, and that's, and for our legal purposes,
That's sufficient?
it's sufficient. Unless we know of someone else. Under the code, whoever is the last registered owner entitled to be.
Well, is that person who's listed on the recorder of deeds also the same entity that's the defendant in the lawsuit?
Well, there should be a registered agent on the recorder of deeds, or on the
On the
Secretary of
corporation,
State.
yeah. So that when the matter is continued to 2/21, that is going to be, as a practical effect, if they do nothing until February 20th, and then go out and put up a fence, and the judge is going to say they're in compliance with the order. The judge is not going to go back because they were a month late.
Okay, we can't write tickets retroactively. Do they start tomorrow? Or can we write tickets going back to January 31st or February 1st?
We would write them for the day that we know that the complaint, whoever's writing the tickets, whether it's Fred or whether it's the superintendent, that you're there, that you cite that it's not in compliance. Now, I don't know, were you there February 1st?
No.
Then we have no one to testify that it wasn't in compliance on February 1st. So then we start writing on the day that we go out there and witness it not being in compliance.
So that's tomorrow. And then every day thereafter until we go to court.
Correct.
Okay.
And then the judge, like you said, if they come compliant, the judge could order those,
Right.
Dismissed.
Right. He may very well do that. He may very well do that.
which he's done.
But we don't want to be in a situation in which the judge asks the same questions that I just asked, which is, were you there on February 20th? And did you see that they weren't in compliance?
And by writing the citation that,
That confirms that we were there.
And taking a picture.
It's a sworn statement by the code enforcement officer that the condition existed at that date.
And do we mail these regular mail, or do we send them certified return receipt requested?
We send them regular mail. If they don't come back, no receipt, certified mail, return receipt requested, always comes back on delivery. There's nothing good.
Yes,
certified.
the obligation is to send them notice, not to send them return receipt
Okay,
request.
that's fine. Okay, Superintendent.
More work,
Tomorrow.
Superintendent, sorry.
All right, on the agenda for approval next week?
Yes.
Okay, so we can keep moving forward, even though I think we're going to have to the judge is going to have to take the next step. That would be my guess. The next item under my agenda is the Great American Cleanup in conjunction with Keep Midlothian Beautiful and the Great American Cleanup. I just briefly touched on this at our last board meeting, which seems like forever ago. But we've had a lot of discussion about this at our Keep Midlothian Beautiful meetings, and this actually was suggested and concurred by Superintendent Sperry. He said that by the time we get into May, Public Works has already been out to do cuts, and so it would be much easier and more productive for Public Works if we get out there and do cleanups before they get in there and they have to start cutting, and that stuff gets all, paper gets shredded and things get chopped when they're in there with the mowers. And there seems to be a lot of excitement about this. I mean, Helen, you've been at the meetings, and we knew Cleanup Day needed probably a little bit of reinvention, and with all the pick-me-up, and with all of the partners that we have at our KMB meetings, including the schools, I think we really have an opportunity to get more volunteers, because that's what we really need. We want that day to be successful. We need to have lots of trash picked up. So mark your calendars. The next KMB meeting is February 21st, and we're going to be working on this. And I know I was back in Public Works talking to Kristen, I think on Monday. She's already started working on the flyer, and we have a lot to do before then, but I'm hoping we have a good reinvention of Cleanup Day.
And we were also able to get a blurb about it into the water bills. So everyone in the village who gets a water bill, February, March, and April, the blurb will be on there with the date.
And the other reason, one of the other reasons we talked about moving it up into April, because the Great American Cleanup is in April, but also by the time we get into May, people are really busy on the weekends with communions and sports and graduations, and it just seemed to make more sense to try to move it up, and let's see how this works, because our turnout hasn't been that great. So anyway, so mark your calendars. I just have a couple more things I'd like to bring up tonight. I had a long discussion today with Kate Vasek from CMAP about the Stormwater Management Capital Plan. And for those of you who were at our last meeting, Kate and Strand and Associates are going to come out and do a really high-level presentation. And I thought about, should it be a committee or should it be at the board meeting? But let me know your feedback. I really think it should be at a board meeting, because there's so much information, and I really think not only does the board need to hear it, but all the department heads need to hear it. Would you agree?
Yes.
Okay. So that being said, do you agree, Mayor? Okay. So that being said, we would have the presentation on at the February 27th board meeting.
I believe I said this before, but I'm extremely impressed with Strand and Associates,
I am too.
the work they've done.
And just their grasp of our issues, yeah. So I think, and again, it's going to be high level. It's not going to be all of the work that we've done as the steering committee and all the behind the scenes work, but I'm really excited for them to share this with the board. Don, you've been at the meetings.
Yeah, they have taken a very complicated issue and broken it down into small segments, so it's understandable. So
Very understandable.
When we look at it, it will be something that's not a big blob, but it will be something that's sort of a roadmap to help solve our flooding problems.
Yeah, all just in our infrastructure issues that we're dealing with. So I'm excited about it. Okay, so Marie, could you get on the presentation on the 27th if everybody agrees? Okay. I just wanted to share this with everybody. As of today, I have not received any applications for the Keep Midlothian Beautiful position. I'm kind of disappointed. But anyway. And lastly, I sent to everybody, and this has become a very complicated issue, the parking lot, the latest diagram of the parking lot. And I'd like to talk about it tonight because we have to move forward. The grant, we don't get this parking lot done by July, the money is gone from both sources. So just to give everybody an overview of this, and again, the diagram that you have here, really the focus is on the parking spaces, okay? Now, this was based on conversations with volunteers and village staff about how can we maximize the parking out there, okay? So I think we've had, I know I've been at 3 meetings on this, and I think a number of us, Superintendent Weiner, you and Joe Sperry were out there on New Year's Eve, and we were getting soaked in the rain. Helen, you've been at a number of the meetings, and this really is to maximize the parking, and Antero has gone way beyond the scope of their contract that we had with them. This was not them aligning all of this parking. And just to give you, all of you some history, we got this grant about 4 years ago, and we've had nothing but hitches in our giddy-up where the state froze it. We had to start all over. We all know about the holdup with the audit. We've got to get the, if we're going to do this, we've got to start moving on it. So again, and I saw Chief Delaney, your concerns about the end. If we had to give up one spot because of the turn, these spaces to the east are just so you could visualize this, okay? I mean, that striping outside of the permeable lot is the village's responsibility. So if we had to lose a spot because of the turn, we could. And I'm aware of your issues with your seized cars. But this parking diagram, in compliance with ADA, thank you, Superintendent Weiner, we would have 29 total parking stalls with 11 new stalls. But we would need a variance because of our code calls for 18-foot aisles, and we would have some 15-foot aisles here. Now, the rain garden, I don't believe, is totally to scale. The whole focus of this is so everybody could see the parking spaces, contiguous. But Mayor, you said we can't go for a variance?
Our variance codes, ordinances don't allow, or they specifically state you can't get a variance if you're if the property owner, if you're the property owner and you ask for a variance, you can't get a variance if the property owner is causing the deficiency to need a variance.
Well, how are we, okay, I guess that's what I
So
thought.
that's why I sent you the email that the green area just on the north side of the rain garden, is that grass where you said?
No, I don't think as I go back and forth in my notes, no, I don't think that's grass. And I'm trying to figure out how wide that is. Again, the rain garden has kind of gotten larger because the rain garden was put in, what, how many, 3 years ago? 4 years ago. The rain garden has grown, okay? And the parking lot been put in at that time. The rain garden has grown. We don't want to start removing the rain garden. So the design of this was pushed as far south as possible to minimize the impact to the VFW property, to allow for a good design strategy for ingress and egress. We don't want to go and have to consume part of the rain garden.
It specifically talks about when a property owner creates the deficiency, the variance is not given. It's very specific about that. So it wouldn't be a variance, it'd be an exception. It would be a board-approved exemption.
Well, I guess that, okay, I'm sorry, I guess that I didn't mean to interrupt, but how do we fix it?
The findings of fact for variations, and as I go through them, the first one, hardship. No variation shall be granted unless the applicant shall establish the carrying out of the strict letter of the provisions of this title would create a practical difficulty or particular hardship. The zoning board, in reviewing this, if they were to ask the questions just like they did for the next couple of special uses that came up, this is a variation, but they would ask this question: what is the hardship for moving the lane 36 inches to the south? And there is no substantial answer that would qualify for anyone else except
Like if there was a building there?
a building, an ocean, a creek, anything. There's absolutely no way that you can go 36 inches to the south. In this particular case, we are the owners of that property, and therefore there is nothing keeping us from going 36 inches south. And what the mayor was alluding to is the next provision is that no other remedy, and the owner, if the owner is the one who created the requirement for the variation. So in other words, we own all of that property. We put a rain garden on a part of it. Therefore, we can't, if it was anyone else, if it was a business of any kind, they wouldn't be able to come to you and say, I put up a patio or I put a vegetable garden on my property and now I don't have room to comply with the village code. That would be an unacceptable answer to the village because we own that property and we can go 36 inches south. That's called number 3. The aforesaid unique physical condition is not the result of any action or inaction of the property owner or his or her predecessors in title, that it existed at the time of the enactment of the provisions for which a variation is sought, was created by natural forces, or was the result of government action or other than the adoption of this title. So in other words, we're the ones who put the rain garden in there and had it come up to where it's at. So therefore, that particular issue doesn't comply with us either, because we're the property owners and we made it necessary to shrink it. Denied substantial rights. The carrying out of the strict letter of the provision from which a variation is sought would deprive the owner of the subject property of substantial rights commonly enjoyed by owners of other properties subject to the same provisions. That doesn't apply either. The bottom line is that we're not being denied any rights at all. We just need to move it south 36 inches. Not merely additional criteria for sign variations, that one doesn't apply, there's no signs involved. And
So it doesn't fit the bill for a variance, so is there a way around it legally? The board would have to, what, vote on the exemption? I don't know if that's even legal.
Yeah. The board would have to, the zoning board would have to make findings that are opposed to all except 2. There's no signs, so there's no sign issues with regard to it. But all the rest of the criteria that's used, the zoning board would have to find contradictory to what the reality is, to what the facts show.
So Karen, what do you think their green is then? Is that not like 3 feet of grass?
It's on the, if you look in the lower right-hand corner, it's on the key, but the key on this document is so small I can't read it.
And I actually sent an email to try to find out what the exact dimensions were, but I didn't get a response back. And again, this was all being refined. And just so you know, and again, we just had this little contract with Antero for and they've gone way above what they were supposed to do. They presented, just so you know, some other concept plans, but then we would still have to have variances because we're talking about 8.5-inch wide stalls, and we wouldn't get as many. We wouldn't have two rows of parking. Here's another one where it's perpendicular. This is the one that makes the most sense, that has been approved by the Illinois Environmental Protection Agency, because if we go changing the design again, we have to go back to the IEPA for approval.
But can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Before this even went to the IEPA for approval, it should have came to the board for approval.
Kathy, this was started 4 years ago.
I understand that, but
4 years
I
ago.
have a concern here. I'm looking at this drawing, and you could see there's well, it's kind of hard to see. there's a red dotted line that shows, and then there's words that show, oh, thank you. There's words that show the approximate VFW property line. My understanding is that this grant was to put in a permeable parking spot on village property. How is it that Antero designed this so that the pavers are encroaching onto VFW property? And is that legal? So,
Well, half of the parking spots on that side
it's
are
like
on.
me putting a fence, me wanting to put a fence up, and I go over my property line and put it on your property.
You're saying that this permanent parking lot goes past the existing parking lot, or taking part of the existing parking
Here,
lot
no,
out?
right here. Okay, see where all the squares are, see where the bricks are?
Yeah.
That's the plan for the parking lot, see this dotted line?
Yeah.
This top area here, that belongs to the VFW.
Right, so are you saying that part of the gravel belongs to the VFW? Is that what we're saying?
Problem.
Probably, maybe it's different.
No, I don't think it does.
When Joe was out there and you were
We
out there,
measured.
measured it with the wheel,
It stopped
it
at,
was that the footage went to the edge of the
right,
parking lot.
because you can find that little,
I see that,
Yeah,
what I'm
but
telling
this-
you is measuring
Okay.
it indicated a little differently.
Okay, but
So
what I'm
this drawing-
telling you is this is
This
the
might
Antero
be-
plan.
Yes.
Antero is showing us, per Antero's plan,
Yeah, I hear you.
we're
I got it.
approaching.
But that led to my question. The other
And I-
question is, because we got a grant, where did the rain garden grant come from?
that funding came from the Illinois Department of Natural Resources Coastal Program.
Okay, so that was a $20,000 grant. So are they gonna frown upon us going in there and cutting out 3 feet? And is there I'm assuming that the garden doesn't grow plants right up to the edge? You're gonna be taking out, several more feet? Are we gonna be frowned upon for having taken money and then going in there with a shovel to tear it out? Is there no other answer that somebody can reasonably get to in a reasonable amount of time to figure out? I mean, they're working with what they know. This firm is working with what they know. I think we need somebody from inside this village to step up after how many decades of this ridiculous madness just being kicked to the curb.
Why don't we
You
just
got
make the
this
parking
far.
lot smaller?
Because then we eliminate, we could, But-
However, one other thing I did bring up to Joe is we have all that parking on Pulaski with signs that say you can only park for 1 hour, and he didn't even know that. So there are no businesses that require parking to come and go for the next person. So we already opened up all the parking that's on Pulaski that nobody could use before. Those are spots.
and he was gonna take the signs
So
down, I haven't
can we
noticed.
just take a look at this and gather all the information and get it to these people before we lose this money and we're right back where we were with just a big mess.
The other problem too with this map is if we have to be 18 feet on the far west, that entrance or exit's only 15 feet, so you're gonna lose those first 2 spots by moving it.
You gotta shift it all.
Unless we can somehow find a way where we can only, and I guess that's the legal question, where we can only do the 15 feet.
Well, in addition to that, in addition to not complying with the village code with regard for a variance, we also have the issue of the lane that the cars are going to be pulling out. At 15 feet, you have the rain garden coming up right up to where people are going to be backing up. There are no curb provisions for this parking lot, so therefore there's going to be parking bumpers which move up and which move down, or even if they don't move. The cars are going to be backing out with the back part of their cars, a pickup truck, backing into the rain garden. The tires will be on the parking lot, but the back of the vehicle will be in the rain garden, which right now appears to be a location where people are going to be. The sharp turn and pulling out of those slots, because it's only 15 feet, they're going to be swinging out with the front of their cars into the cars next to them, and that's why we have the code for 18 feet, trustee. We have it for 18 feet to avoid these kinds of
According
problems.
to this map, that area there between the rain guard and the pavers is grass.
It's native
No
plants.
grass.
There's no grass.
No, there's turf grass on it, according to the...
According to this, on the
According to
key, on the key of
Turf
this
grass.
drawing, he's got that green shaded area that we were talking about, it says turf grass.
I think what he sees is there's weeds growing out of the gravel. Maybe that's what he was indicating, because it was gravel that literally turned to weeds, and maybe that's the turf.
Well, or he's suggesting that we have to plant turf grass.
No, no,
Well-
there's no suggestion for turf grass.
Well, that's what it says on his plan.
Again,
That's our question, so then,
Yeah.
can't we just move it, those papers 3 feet to the, without taking up the rain garden?
And that was a question that I emailed, and I did not get a response back. Again, a lot of this was out of the scope. They've done all these other, possibilities, but we're trying to maximize the space there. So I just want to get this done.
Do we have a valid legal description for this whole entire triangle that the village owns? Because if we have a valid legal description, I'm sure that had to have been provided to the engineer, or we could provide it to the engineer, because the valid legal description would provide all the measurements, north, south, east, west, isosceles triangle, whatever this is. So he would be able, the engineer should be able to measure and determine where the accurate lot line lies.
We had, didn't we have a survey, George? Yeah.
Yes, we did.
We did, I think they
More
had.
than once.
And George, do you know if the VFW has a survey of their property?
You've got it also,
We have it.
but we're talking about trading parking places.
Okay, well then, we need to provide that survey information to Antero so that they can make sure that they have the measurements correct, because I'm really concerned about the fact that he's showing that the paver bricks are encroaching into the VFW property.
So, wait a minute, we didn't give Ontario the surveys and shit to figure this out? Is that what you're telling me?
I don't know, but
I
they should have been given, the documents should have been given to Antero. I don't know if they were or not.
Oh, okay.
I can't even remember, because this was started 4 years ago. This has been a nightmare, trying to get all this funding.
Sounds like it still isn't.
It is.
So could I just ask my little question?
Sure.
Which probably can be easily taken care of. So I had sent this to the police department earlier to make sure there were no concerns with parking, and I forwarded you the email. So based on their concerns with emergency vehicles, the seized vehicles and the parking, there will be no disruption to any of that, correct?
No, this is just visualizing, trying to maximize the striping.
And, no, I understand that, but then with regards to all the emergency vehicles going through, there won't be any problem with them making that turn or getting in or out of the parking lot, correct?
No, we talked to Chief Hotwagner about it, and he said, no, they don't go, no,
No different than it is now.
no.
So
That's what I want to
that
make sure,
lane,
as long as someone guarantees me that, that was my
so
question.
the lane that exists, that is 23, okay, Maria, I can't make this
On the
smaller.
north
It's
side.
23 feet,
At
yeah.
the VFW
Okay, that's
apartment.
23 feet wide. Is that going to be a two-way lane? Because right now, vehicles come and go. Vehicles drive east and west down that lane.
But with the way the striping is laid out, it really is a one-way.
It is a one-way. I think we were going to have signage that it was only going to be one way.
Well, if that's the case, then I think that there might be a problem for the fire department coming down. If the fire department needs, for whatever reason, needs to leave, and they need to come through here, they
Never
need
go
to...
through
They
there.
never go through there. That's what the chief said, they never go through there.
Okay, okay. And all the public works trucks?
They
And all the
might come
public...
home back to the station through there or something, but they're not going on a call. They're going to go straight to,
Where the
They got a
light
straight
is,
shot.
Okay.
see light,
Yeah.
is how they leave.
Okay, then, I mean, is Public Works, if this other lane is only 15 feet wide, the lane to the south, if that's only 15 feet wide, are the Public Works trucks going to be able to get through there?
You know what, if I can just say this, I spend a lot of time out there, and I see a lot of the coming and the going. And right now, what you have is, as day goes on, it becomes, in my mind, a safety issue and a hazard, because of the haphazard parking and everything hanging over into the lane that is no longer the legal width it should be, because people park
Right.
just however they can fit.
Right.
And they narrow it. So to actually do this should improve the odds of keeping that appropriate space open, because right now there's no organized guidance for anybody to follow, therefore it is now a hazard.
Right, but the problem with, if the parking lot is designed like this, the lane to the south where the vehicles would be driving
Exit.
westbound to exit, it's 15 feet wide, and then the lane that they turn into is only 15 feet wide. I'm just asking the question, because Public Works uses that right now. Can the Public Works vehicles make that turn if it's only 15 feet wide?
But realistically, they may use it now, but they don't have to use it. They can easily turn around next to the garage. If they're gassing up vehicles or something, all they gotta do is back up and turn around and go out the other way.
Okay.
In superintendent
I'm just asking because I know they
Yeah.
use it, so. But
They
one
use it
other
'cause it's
question.
there, but it-
They've
they
got the
don't need to.
location of the storage tank on the concrete pad. Is that the current location or is that a new location?
No, it's got to be the current location.
Well, I'm just asking because I don't know.
Yeah, we're not moving that.
We're not
Okay.
moving that.
Why don't we just, I know you're saying maximize the parking spots, but with the parking that we have on Pulaski, why don't we just minimize some of the parking spots and take away these problems that we're associating with? Where we can still have parking, but have a 18-foot
Because,
We need exact drawing here. We need, so we can approve it.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
Could we just not cut another hole in the curb, create another exit there on that side?
Yeah, it's called the county.
you know what,
Well, that sounds a lot simpler than trying to make a right turn and then a hard left turn out of this
Not if
15-footer.
that's 18 feet wide, that's not,
Well, if it's 18, but it's 15 on this diagram, though.
then you cut back on that first lane a little bit, or first parking stall a little bit.
well, they did provide other concepts, but this was the best. There's one here where no variances are needed. Wait, I'm looking at C.
Can I make a suggestion? Because why doesn't everybody who actually wants to see it take a trip out there with our superintendent, who was there, as well as our other superintendent, Sperry, and go look at that from standing there? Because we can talk about this till we're blue in the face, and until you're standing there with your measuring wheel, this is not going to come to life. Just wasting time talking about something and it's not there.
Well, I've been out to the rain garden and this plenty of times, so I can visualize this. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Your measuring wheel is a whole different story. It is.
Well, but Helen, if they had a measuring wheel and they measured this off, why is the parking lot encroaching into the VFW property?
And I will confirm
I
that.
didn't see the drawing until you walked over here.
Yeah,
But
so-
what I do know is I'd be on the phone asking some questions, and I wouldn't be just supposing for another 30 years.
Yeah, why don't we just put it away until we get the actual idea of what we're looking
Well,
at?
this was, and I will confirm that that's encroaching. There is another diagram here where we could do, I'm looking at concept C. No variances, we don't need an easement with the VFW. We get less stalls. IEPA may require additional permeable pavement, and additional design may be needed. And I think with this, we're not going to have the alignment with the striping. It's not going to work. This was the best scenario to align it with the other property to the east. But you know what? What's going to happen is we are not,
Can you just maybe suggest taking a time where everybody can meet, go out there with the measuring wheel, and clarify the right dotted line so that we can just move forward, please?
I'm absolutely in favor of that. The problem is that the board has to have something like this to officially vote on and approve, so that this can go in files, so that it gets done the way the board approved it.
Absolutely.
So it has to be accurate, and I'm just saying, if that's grass, just move the pavers 3 feet to the south. But you're saying that the numbers aren't, other than the
That's not
actual
grass.
stalls.
Please call and clarify with them.
I will.
And then go show everybody.
I will.
Okay, can I just ask another clarification question? Once the pavers go in and the pavers get striped, are we also going to continue with the striping and finish striping the whole thing?
Yes.
That was the
Okay.
whole idea. That was
All
the
right.
whole idea, to try to make it one contiguous parking lot. So it
Okay.
doesn't look like this. It's a
Okay.
mess out there.
Okay, and then the other area is, directly to the east of the rain garden, this is very hard to read, it says remove existing pavement, and you could see the legend, all the sporadic green dots is the turf, it's the grass that was planted out there, okay? And then you see this big white blob, and then above that, you see a shaded area of gray with a sawtooth. What's that area of gray, and what's that area, is that area of gray the pavement they're talking about?
That's the asphalt out there where the police department parks their,
Oh, that extra piece?
This
that-
said extra
that
piece.
bump out piece?
This
Okay.
had extra piece that wouldn't be usable. So Superintendent Sperry, and this, I think, this was your suggestion, Superintendent Weiner, was saw cut it, so then everything would be aligned, and it would actually look like a parking lot is supposed to look. And Joe said he could do that, and he could remove the spoils.
So where would so this part, the grade part is the part where the police department currently park their seized vehicles?
yes.
Where would they?
No. Where they park their seized vehicles now is to the east, where we have striped it, so it looks contiguous with the other part. That's just a small piece there, that gray.
Wait, but that doesn't answer Sandy's question, I don't think. Where are the police gonna put their cars?
Same place.
And how many cars do they got?
Well, that's the spot
Right now,
that's the spot of the gray on here that's gonna get cut out and removed.
No, it's not.
They'll go in these parking spots here.
There's what?
They're gonna go in the spots.
So they're gonna go in the parking spaces that we're striping?
Yeah.
Yes.
So how many cars you got there?
So all these parking spaces are not gonna just be for people coming and going, the police cars are gonna be parked there as well?
The seized cars that have to be there, and that varies, correct? It does.
Okay.
So how many do you need, do you think? 10, 15?
No.
Well, I don't know, how many?
But we have our 3 EMA vehicles, we also park squad back there. Currently have 1 seized vehicle, but I'm not sure how many there might be 2 or 3 that are still.
Do we know where we're at with our conversation with Metra for allowing municipal employees to park in the parking
I
lot
know
over
Joe
there?
talked to him, and they were working on something to open up this end here for us.
Okay.
And you could probably put the EMA vehicles over there too, couldn't you, in Metro?
Well, we have such a problem now, I mean, with all the criminal damage to vehicles we've had in the last year, I mean, we need to have our city vehicles under camera.
And light.
Right.
Okay, I will get some more clarification. I did email for some, but I can't state enough. We've got to try, if you want this parking lot to go in, we've got to get moving on it because we're going to lose the money.
I'm just curious, how long ago did we give this over to Antero to start on this?
4 years ago?
No. Just recently, once we got the Fish and Wildlife grant and once they loosened up all the grants, how long has it been?
How long? It's been, I don't know, 2 months maybe? A month, 2 months?
No, it's been longer than that.
No, since,
When did we get the Fish and Wildlife grant? When was the audit done that you sent to Fish and Wildlife
probably
grant?
the end of October-ish.
Okay, it was end of October.
Soil boring, and that just took place this summer.
Right, wait for the soil board. That was another thing from the IEPA. They did not require, they wanted an infiltration test that they did not
Right,
require
well, they finished
before.
that this summer, right?
It was like August or something.
Okay, so they finished it in August, and this is the first drawing that we're seeing
No,
from Antero.
No. There
It
have
may
been,
not be the first time you've seen a drawing, but this is the first drawing I've seen.
Because we wanted to come back and talk about making it
One,
functional
right.
instead of the little area.
I get that.
So there was already something presented, and so we said, can we please make this more functional? Because we're trying to solve the other problem.
Right.
That has
Okay.
been ignored for how many decades.
Okay.
So that's what this is all about.
Okay.
Creatively moving forward.
Okay, well,
What
we
people understand.
need to pull out those surveys ASAP and get those over to Antero so that they can verify the legal descriptions. Because if they can verify the legal description, hopefully they should be able, and hopefully the legal description includes the gravel piece of the parking lot, they should be able to have a better idea of where that red line is supposed to go. Especially if, as George said, if the VFW has a survey, that should be able to help as well.
Trustee, this may be a situation in which a stake survey would be practical and effective.
Well, they're civil engineers, they should be able to handle that
Well,
once
so
we
that
give
you
them
can
the
go
legal
out and
description.
see where everything is
Yeah.
actually laid out there.
Yeah. We just, I mean, the layout, I don't have a problem with the layout, don't get me wrong here, just to clarify, I have no problem with the layout, no problem with the design. We just have to make sure moving forward that if our grant limits us, if the grant limits the village to putting in this permeable parking lot only on village property, we have to make sure that we don't encroach onto the VFW property. I mean, that was my big concern when I saw the red dotted line, so.
I will get some more
I think the
information.
layout is awesome.
Well, I think the layout,
I agree,
Exactly what
I
we
think the
talked
layout's
about.
nice as well.
and again, this is way beyond the scope of the work that they were going to do, way beyond.
But be very clear, I know it's the wild, wild west out there right now, but once it is in place and it is striped, it becomes a legal, legitimate parking lot, and we have to follow the laws. And if we can't give a variance to anyone else,
We can't give one
we
to
can't give
ourselves.
it to ourselves, it would have to be, so we need exact numbers.
But if we,
Because the board
okay,
has to approve this, they have to vote. You know,
okay, but I guess here's my question. If we can't get a variance, then this whole design may have to change, and it's not gonna be, and we're gonna be back to a hodgepodge mess again.
Clarify the red dotted line, get the measurements straight, then we decide we're gonna have to cut out how many feet of the rain garden, then we ask Joe, because I wasn't there when they bobcatted the whole thing, can that be moved to the other side? Will the grading still be appropriate? Do we lose future grants from that particular agency? Because I was told by IDNR, when I was at the Army Corps of Engineers meeting one day, talking about this garden, that this was going to be a stepping stone for many future grants. So I think it's ridiculous to think that you would go and rip up a $20,000 project without getting everything organized and reasonably trying to restore that at our cost.
we're not saying rip out the garden. We're saying that there, according to this drawing,
Right.
there is a grassy area between
It's weeds.
the, so that could be pavers then. That's not part of the rain garden, you're saying. It's weeds.
There's weeds and there's bark, and native plants reseed themselves, and that's what has happened, is it has seeded itself into what used to be your 3-foot border of mulch. So his perception of that may have been a grassy area, but it's.
You're saying it's part of the rain garden.
Yep, because it expanded.
Weeds.
When we rolled the measuring device and Nick was there, we rolled it up to the plant, and we were still cutting it at the short end of the stick.
Had this parking lot gone in on schedule like 3 years ago, that rain garden would not have,
Would have expanded.
it wouldn't have expanded like it has.
Because we remeasured the rain garden, if you remember, and we measured it at almost 5,000 square feet.
Right.
This drawing shows it at 2,300 square feet.
And that was what it was.
But
So-
if it were managed properly, it wouldn't have expanded that way.
Let me
When
ask
I
you the
took
question
care of it
then.
For 2 years, it did not expand.
Okay, on this drawing, this shows this green loop around the garden.
Mayor, could we move forward?
Is that where the mulch is? Is that supposed to be the mulch?
I don't know what it was.
I will get more information. I don't want to lose
Yeah,
this
so I
grant.
don't know, I don't know.
These 2 grants.
Actually, need to move on.
Okay, so I will get the information, and hopefully we don't lose the grants, and I believe that's all I have this evening.
Thank you, ma'am. Trustee Ivan.
Thank you, Mayor. I sent, in your packet, there's a Third Millennial Associate recommendation for a quotation for going to monthly. I just want you to look at basically the vehicle fulfillment services part of it. That is on the second page. And I'd like to talk about it again on the next committee meeting. if you would put that on the agenda, that I will want to discuss this again on the, in the next community meeting. I just wanted you guys to be aware of it, to look at it. I'll have the guy from Third Millennium here as well to answer any of your technical questions on why we should or shouldn't go forward with this project.
And that's at the next committee?
Why are we
Next
looking-
committee.
Why are we just looking at that? Why are we looking at the,
You don't have to look at the price. I'm just saying the reasons why we want to go forward. Okay?
I guess so. So what are the reasons?
It's all listed on the second page. So that ends my, everything I have to talk about.
Trustee Gillis?
Yes, there's a request for training for two of our firefighter paramedics. Firefighter paramedic Gorski is asking to go to fire apparatus engineers course, which is $450, and a budgeted item in our training budget. Firefighter paramedic Clemson is asking to attend the Fire Officer 1 certification, which is 5 core classes that start in February and in May. The cost for that certification is $1,680. Again, that is in the training budget. And both of these are mandated fire department promotional process courses that these two individuals are looking forward to obtaining. Firefighter Gorski would be eligible for the engineer's position if it so becomes, and firefighter paramedic Clemson would be available to be eligible for the lieutenant or deputy chief position. So these are classes that fall under the Illinois Firefighter State Fire Marshal's Office. So I'll be asking for approval for that. Again, like I said, it is in the budget. I know
a total of $1,680 for both?
No, $1,680 for the Fire Officer 1 certification and $450 for the FAE class.
Where's that at? Oh, I'm sorry. Gotcha.
Okay, and during the course of last weekend, and this sort of falls under building department too, but fire chief informed me that they responded to multiple water pipe splits within town, 14850 Pulaski, 14747 Cicero, and 4610 147th Street. And there was an underground power loss on Kilpatrick and apartment building, 14730 Kilpatrick. So I'm sure that was with the fluctuation of water with the water pipe splits. And I believe that is all I have.
I forgot to ask Chief today when I saw him, the testing to redo a new list, make a new list, right? Did he go to the Fire and Police Commission?
I don't have that information.
Thank you, sir. Trustee Kevin.
Thank you, Mayor. We have quite a lot on our plate today to discuss. First thing we want to talk about is Bellarama and Byline Auto. They are down at the east end of town, 3202 and 3228 West 147th Street. The 3202 address is the hard corner, former gas station location. That is Bellarama Auto Repair. They are supposed to be a small auto repair shop, but continue to violate various village ordinances and repairing larger engines that they are not authorized to do so. The 3228 property is the former Dairy Queen property. That property is like an auto sales lot. Back in June 1st, 2016, the owner of Bellarama Auto Repair, which is the 3202 property, filled out a special use request for the 4 pins that make up the 3202 property. They filled out a special use, they went through the whole dog and pony show, and there was an ordinance that was granted. However, the ordinance identifies the property incorrectly. The ordinance identifies the property by address as 3202. However, the PIN, and it identifies the PINs properly, However, in the written legal description, the written legal description includes 2 pins from 3202 and 2 pins for 3228. So there's much confusion there. However, in the special use ordinance that was drafted, now, they don't have an RDA, I just want you to know that. There's no RDA, this is just a special use ordinance that was written. There was a list of, I believe, 12 or 15 items that they were supposed to complete within 30 days of the village giving them that ordinance. The only item on there that was completed was their brownfield assessment. Every other item on the list was not done. Okay? So that occurred, that was for the special use that they submitted, special use application they submitted June 1st. Apparently, along the way, they must have realized an error. Then they submitted another special use application, I believe dated September of that same year, September of 2016, and that special use application was for the 4 pins that make up 3228, which is the old Tasty Freeze property. I said Dairy Queen before, my mistake, Tasty Freeze. However, we can't find any documentation that shows that a zoning board hearing was held or that there was any ordinance granted. So Superintendent Weinert has visited that property several times, and those are the photos that he has provided all of us right here. Okay? So the first photo on the stack is just a panoramic of both of these properties. Second picture is a picture of the front of the Tasty Freeze building. And then going down the side street. Nick, what's the side street there again?
Turner. Sawyer.
Sawyer, okay. On page 2, second photo is he's standing in the middle of Sawyer, taking a picture of the back of the building. See, there's no curb cut there there used to be a curb cut. You can see where the curb is sort of overgrown with vegetation or weeds. That I don't believe there's any concrete there. There used to be a curb cut there, but they put the ballasts up. And they've got all kinds of cars in the box truck parked back there. Third page, photo number 4, you can see they've got a lot of their windows covered, which is against the sign ordinance. Page 5, photo 5, that's the front of the Bellarama Auto Repair. Please note also, when Superintendent Weinert went and visited this property, he noticed that a lot of the cars on the car sales lot had price tags that were less than the required $2,500 price threshold that has been set by village ordinance. So rather than getting rid of the vehicles, he just simply pulled the stickers off the cars and left the cars on the lot. Next page, photos 6 and 7, is the alley view of the back of the both properties. Photo number 7 is the back view of the Bellarama Auto Repair building. Okay, pictures number 8 and 9. This is a bunch of debris that's been there for months. Superintendent Weinert has gone there several times and has asked them to clean it up. Next page is a picture of their open dumpster that's not in an enclosure as required. And then the back of the lot. And then the last photo is the east end of the alley behind the Bellarama repair shop. And then the very last photo, 13, is from the vantage point of Kedzie Avenue, looking west into the backside of the property. So the owners of the 2 businesses have come to the village and they applied for a special use, and I believe they had their zoning board meeting a couple weeks ago, and Deputy Clerk Kalaki has issued the meeting minutes. Did you send those to everybody? The minutes?
No, it's at the actual finding of the zoning board.
Pardon me?
The finding.
Oh, it was the finding of the
Finding, the
zoning board.
recommendation of the zoning board.
Okay. So, and what was the recommendation of the zoning board?
The recommendation of the zoning board was to grant the special use request from Bellorama Auto Repair with conditions, and those conditions are reflective of all the things that the original owner had agreed to in the original 1929 ordinance. So the conditions would be, any and all signs currently on the premises or which may be placed on the premises shall be erected and maintained in strict conformity with the village code of the Village of Midlothian. Any and all refuge garbage must be placed in closed top dumpsters of adequate size as approved by the village building department. Said dumpsters must be placed in an enclosure and shall be hidden from view of the public as approved by the village building department. There shall be sufficient dedicated parking spaces on the property in conformity with the village code, the Village of Midlothian, and shall have adequate access from ingress and egress of emergency service vehicles. The property shall be equipped with black backflow device, which is approved by the Village of Midlothian. There shall be no display of automobiles for sale on the parkway, streets, and sidewalk immediately adjacent to the property. In addition, there shall be no display of automobiles within 8 feet of the curb on either Kedzie Avenue or 147th Street. The property owner shall only place vehicles on the lot for sale and/or viewing which are placed at sale value in excess of $2,500. Moreover, the median price of vehicles on the lot shall be no less than $8,000. The median price shall be calculated by taking the list sale price of each vehicle on the lot and dividing by the number of vehicles on the lot. 7, the development shall comply with all state, federal laws and village ordinances. The exterior and interior of the business shall be maintained in a professional manner, and the property owner shall ensure that the premises are kept free of debris and refuge. A fire alarm system consistent with current village code must be installed prior to the issuance of a business license. The building and facilities must comply or be brought up to code, compliance with the current village code in all respects. A business license must be sought for and issued before the business can begin operations. Neither the property owner nor the licensee of the property shall use any abutting properties for any purposes inconsistent with the village code and/or which require a special use without obtaining the proper approval from the village pursuant to this ordinance. 13, if any of these conditions are not followed or if any village ordinances are violated, the variation shall terminate immediately and any business license shall be immediately revoked. And then the last item was the employee and customer parking be clearly marked on the premises. Almost all of those were requirements that were in the original ordinance granting the special use.
And all of those requirements have not been fulfilled.
That's correct.
And since they've even applied for their special use, they've not even attempted to fix any of this mess. These pictures were just taken. So, the
And
zoning
super-
board of appeals has, that was their findings, that they're in favor of granting the special use. I'm on the fence about it, as much as I don't want to see another vacant business in town either. I don't know that we've gotten any, to the best of my knowledge, the village has not received any complaints about that business as far as them selling lemons. Is that correct, Nick? Have you gotten any complaints about that?
About what they're selling, no.
Pardon me?
About what they're selling, no.
Right, we haven't gotten any of those complaints, so at one point, this is the part that's new to me. At one point, does the board vote on this? Do the owners of Bellarama have to come before the board at a board meeting?
No. And trustee, I would just say that the zoning board of appeals made it very clear to the owner that the village board may institute prior conditions before granting that special use. And they understood very clearly. I think that the zoning board did an incredible job. And again, I want to compliment you on getting this process established. I don't want to get all geeked out about municipal process, but I was proud of the way that the board conducted itself. There was a give and take discussion. Every single detail in those 14 issues were raised and discussed. The owners acquiesced and said they understood. One, they understood what was required of them, and two, that the village board may not approve it until they see some of these conditions met. And the chairman offered anyone an opportunity to speak in opposition. No one was there to speak in opposition, and based upon that, the board recommended the special use, obviously with the condition. The owner knows that you may require additional or prior compliance before granting the special use.
In my opinion, I think that Nick, tell me if I'm wrong, tell me if you disagree, but in my opinion, I think that we want some compliance on some of these matters before we move forward and give them this special use. They were given special use 2.5 years ago. They haven't done anything. They're not even, cleaning the trash up out of the corner of the property and properly disposing of it. They're doing large engine repair that they're not authorized to do. Nick's gone in there twice and told them that he can't do the engine repair, and then he goes back the next time, and there's an engine up on the hoist.
So I guess, if I could ask Superintendent Weiner a question, when you go there and you tell them, can you clean up the property, what are they telling you?
Sure.
And then they do nothing?
Yeah.
So maybe what we need to do is shut them down. That would get their attention.
Well, even with this new special use, it doesn't let them do engine repair in here. The heavy engine repair, just little stuff. First of all,
They can do brakes, oil changes.
Yeah, no
Well,
different than
okay.
the other small car dealers.
First of all, this exceeds by a lot what other small car dealers, what we've granted other smaller car dealers. This is way off what we let them do radiators or brakes or something, but not all this stuff, no way. There's
Not all what stuff?
Midlothian,
Does it say what repair work they can do there?
Sure. And, Midlothian Auto, Cars 147, a couple, they've come to us, they have one down by Trumbull or whatever, they've come to us, what can we repair? And it's been pretty strict about minor repairs, just to get the cars up and saleable. It isn't really set it up as Midlothian Auto is a little bit more of a separate repair shop, but it still can't do a lot of repairs. This is the first one we'd be given that leeway to. Second of all, this place looks like a dump.
Yes,
I don't
it
care
does.
I don't care if you clean it up or not. That place, if you make it into a repair shop on the corner, says everything about Midlothian you don't want to say. I don't have anything against these guys, but they'd have to, first of all, I think they'd have to make that building look a heck of a lot better and try to provide some area where are they going to park their repaired cars?
Yeah, the problem is, they were told this and they didn't do it.
They didn't do anything of the first thing. Now, it still looks terrible. It's going to look worse when they do more car repair, and they haven't done anything they were supposed to do already. So what makes us think that we should go further with this? I don't see it.
So does anybody think it's a good idea?
No.
Okay. I'm in
And if they
favor
want
of
to
no.
if they want to get into fuel pumps, carburetors,
Yep.
now you look at the sprinkler system.
Yep. Yeah, they're not
Exactly.
talking about little stuff to just get it on the lot. They're talking about.
Where does it say, show me, I don't know what document you have there, show me, where does it say what they can fix and what they can't fix?
It's in the packet.
And I would just,
And the zoning ordinance.
It's zoning
Oh,
ordinance, so
there it
what
is,
they
I'm
could
sorry.
do.
And also the original ordinance.
and
1929.
All my documents are all mixed up.
It's listed in there.
Sorry.
just for clarification, the nature of the request items for what the repairs they're doing was lifted literally from the language of the 1929 ordinance, ordinance 1929.
Oh, it was.
So this is the special
So
use.
we already granted that.
It was granted, yes, in
Okay.
2016.
Okay.
Now, they did not comply with the
Right.
rest of the conditions in
Right.
in
Or they
ordinance
didn't comply with that either because they were doing engine repair.
Correct,
in
you're-
there.
you are correct.
So, to me, have a nice day.
Yeah, I
and
think we're all on the
goodbye.
same page here.
Well, an option to the board would be then to postpone the voting on this and allow the superintendent to go back to them and tell them that the board is not going to approve it until the conditions,
Until the
preconditions.
conditions of his original special use are met.
Precisely.
May I say something about the pictures?
Yep.
All right, if you put the pictures back out again, the very first picture was just a big view. You'll see that they violated the sign ordinance and also the
Yep.
dumpsters, the
Yep.
front, all around, the auto repair. The top page, which is the old Tasty Freeze, that shows the aisle that was supposed to be left open, and the fire department wants a way to go around the property, so you don't have to back out on 147th Street when they bring in an ambulance. and that's why the side picture was taken number 2, to show you that there probably was a curb cut back there. It's all blocked off, the bollards supposed to be removed, where I can pull in on picture 1 into the Tasty Freeze and then exit onto Sawyer. So the fire department would have to back on 147, which is dangerous. That's what pictures 1 and 2 are about. Picture 3 was just to show you that, more signage. Same with picture 4. Then you go to picture 5. The purpose of that was to show you the front of the building, and the dumpster was located on the left front of the property. Picture number 6 was the alley and the box trucks. I believe there was some ordinance stating that they're not allowed to park trucks in the village, but I did not know if that includes box trucks on a for sale lot. Picture number 7 was the back of the Bellarama Auto Repair. And you can see on the right side of the picture all the debris in the dumpster. The section between the telephone pole and the blue pole is like an enclosed area about chin high, and that's where you're supposed to store all your debris or engine parts or that, which is out of view of the public. And that's what that's supposed to show, that enclosure there. That's what it's set up for. Picture number 8 and 9 shows you what's behind the dumpster.
And this is what, I'm sorry, I hate to interrupt, this is what our residents that are living back there look at?
Yes.
Yep.
So then what you see then in picture number 8, besides gas tank and all the other things laying out there, is if you look to the, right next to the blue building, there's this big plastic 4x4 by 4 foot tall container. That's fully used engine oil. The fire department wants it in an approved metal storage, so it doesn't blow up, basically. And they wanted that put back in that area I told you, it was an enclosed area, it was chin high. The dumpster in front of the property, in the picture 10. Picture 11 was the back of the property. If I were to walk on the west side of the building around the dumpster and that, to show you that there's debris there, but there's no reason why they can't put an enclosed trash enclosure in the back of the property, not in front of the property. If you notice too, you'll see on picture 11, there's a nice big wheel to the right. What they're doing is parking a tractor there for a semi. They were told that you're not allowed to park a semi-tractor in the property. It's still there. You can see that on picture number 12. If you look to the left at the park station across the street, you see the semis parked there. Picture 13 shows you the same thing. The semi-truck is still parked there, and they have a box truck parked there. So the fire department wanted access, the village wanted all the place cleaned up, follow the current ordinances, and now these pictures are taken today.
I don't know why we haven't shut them down.
Well, clearly the board's not going to vote for the special use, so you can go over there and tell them everything's got to be done.
And, I'm sorry, and citations should be issued too, if that's how they're, if we have an issue of possible exploding oil that's left open, I mean, what you just said?
Catch fire.
Whatever the what is.
It's going to be all.
I'm not an oil expert, I apologize, I'm not an oil expert, but
That leaking into the ground.
Right.
you made me snort.
Because they already had a phase 1, phase 2 environmental brownfield's been done. And they should, the ground wasn't contaminated back in 2016.
Who knows if it is
This is
now.
terrible.
So, I don't know, do we want to give them a time frame? Do we want to give them, I want to give them like 2 days to get the oil out of there. Do we want to give them 2 weeks? Or do we want to give them 30 days to clean up the whole mess and
Not
then come
30
back?
days.
You already gave me.
2 weeks? I'm just asking, there's
You were
a,
over there a while back. You and I talked and told them you got to get up to clean up. Yeah, a couple months ago.
The area needed to be cleaned up, and it wasn't cleaned up.
Then why are we not shutting them down?
Yeah, why we shut them down? It's dangerous. It's
Exactly.
nuts.
Well, I mean, if we're not going to shut this place down, what are we going to shut
Yeah,
down?
right. Yeah. If I have the fire
But
chief
do we
go
shut
over there
down
tomorrow and
without
say hi.
issuing them tickets first?
If it's
we
life
issue them
safety, if it's like, and I think with that oil, well,
Yeah.
first of all,
It's not an oil leak, it's the parking, not having access.
plus they violated everything.
Yeah.
They violated
Shut
everything.
them down. Good grief. Shut them down.
We should
then we'll
write them
talk.
tickets, then shut them down.
I would just say that we should write them tickets. The first instance would be for the superintendent to make that determination determination. I wouldn't want the board expressing a directive without the citations in the grounds first. Lest later on, an issue become of whether the superintendent did it because he was enforcing the ordinance or because the village board wanted him to do it.
Well, the fire chief has to get involved in this too.
Right, we
I
have to
mean,
write the citations.
We're giving people tickets for garbage in their fence line, and here, this guy's got garbage all over the place. If I lived over there, I'm surprised nobody has complained.
Me too. I'd be screaming.
Normal protocol that we normally follow is we make a list, we tell them like a salon to clean it up, like anybody else, then after that, if they're not compliant, we cite them. Okay, so normally even the residents, you know, put a door hanger on or whatever, I can go there with a list of everything that needs to be done, talk to the owner of the property, Mr. Gazzo, and tell them everything has to be done, and the board currently is going to vote that it won't be a special use not be approved, depending what he does. He cleans up the whole property, he does everything. So what's going to happen next Wednesday? The vote's going to be delayed, or it's just going to be voted no? I would need somebody to tell me.
Again, I would suggest that the board postpone the vote, and there is no special use. Right now, they don't have a special use.
Well, according to his original special use ordinance, if he violated any of those things, his special use goes away and we could pull his business permit and close him.
Correct?
So are we going to give him 2 weeks to cure his problem so that his current business license can stay in business? And then,
I'd like to let the building superintendent make a determination as to what the appropriate amount of time
Yeah.
is.
yeah. I mean, the signage is in violation, but it's not the critical item here. The critical item here is the illegal parking of the vehicles, the illegal parking of the semis and the trucks, no access for emergency vehicles, the rubbish, the trash, and the open container of oil. Right?
So let the superintendent make the decision and let him implement it.
Right.
Knowing that the board is in favor of shutting the business down. Okay.
So if he wants to change our mind, he's got a lot of work to do in about 3 minutes.
Well, there would have to be a motion to approve a special use. Without a motion to approve a special use, the board doesn't have to do anything.
Well, it's just for discussions. We weren't voting on it tonight.
That's correct.
Yeah.
That's correct. Forgot what date.
Okay.
Okay.
Next item is code updates. We've updated several codes. The next 2 up for adoption, for review and adoption, are the fuel gas code and the mechanical code. Superintendent Weinert has gone through both of those codes. He has written his notes, and he is ready to meet with Attorney Valadez to draft the 2 ordinances to amend those and adopt those 2 codes. So Attorney Valadez, if you can make some time this week
Yeah.
to get with Nick, I'd like to try to have those on the agenda for next Wednesday, if at all possible.
Okay.
If you guys can get those drafted and get them to the board on Wednesday, pardon me?
What kind were they again?
The fuel gas code and the mechanical code. Thank you. Next item is maintenance of the Rain Ready Community Garden. I reached out to Molly Dowling, who's the director at OIA / Highbridge, thank you. Couldn't think of that word. Last conversation I had with her, OIA was waiting for a grant. She was hoping to be able to use that grant to continue the mission of Highbridge so they can continue to do their green projects. I reached out to her the other day. She told me that she would know she would have more information in 2 weeks. In the meantime, I also reached out to our friend Ruth, whose friend was at our cleanup day a couple years ago, and she is very involved in green infrastructure and rain gardens. I'm going to reach out to her and ask her if she has any contacts for us to reach. I believe Ruth told me that Posen uses Smitty's Tree Service to do some of their maintenance in some of their green areas. So I'll have a conversation with her, and I'm also going to reach out to Julia Plum and ask her if she has any recommendations of anybody else that we can contact. Because not only do we have to maintain this rain garden, but when we put in the permeable parking lot over on Keystone, there is a rain garden element that's going to go there. We'll need somebody to manage and maintain that as well. Next.
Can I just, I think it might be beneficial, considering that we're talking about a stormwater management plan, to pick a firm that would be able to be useful for all this in the future, not just, I'd like to pick a firm that is going.
I agree. I want
Yeah.
to pick, I would like to pick an organization that's going to be viable, that's going to be able to be here
Right.
for a couple of years, several years to come, and not
I mean, we
us
can-
having to every year scramble to find somebody.
Right, we can find different organizations. I mean, I talked to somebody up north that does this, and they returned my call, but you had already found someone else, for the rain garden. But I think if we're going to do this, I think we really need to have more of a viable organization.
I agree.
And maybe a larger, I don't know, maybe a larger organization, or dependable is maybe the word, that we can count on them year after year. Maybe, and I don't know exactly, did we knock out Roy Erickson, or did we not knock out Roy Erickson, or did we talk to him about if he does green infrastructure? I'm not sure.
Well,
I don't know the answer to that.
I don't know that Roy Erickson's firm has the experienced staff that, I don't know that they have experience in taking care of rain
Okay,
gardens.
I don't know, I'm just asking the question.
His recommendation was to tear it all out.
And start all over.
So
Yeah.
I would say no to that.
Well, that would eliminate using him, yes, okay, fine. All right, so I'm just saying, instead of going through this year after year, maybe we need to reach out to other towns that you have green infrastructure, maybe, to
I don't
reach out.
disagree, that's why I
Yeah.
started reaching out to 3
Yeah.
different
We
organizations
have
to
to
see
make-
what our
I
options are.
wonder how Aurora does it, because they've got all of those rain gardens. Aurora, they've got a ton of them. Yeah.
They have public works employees that
They're taking
are
care of that.
part-time that do that.
Taking care of that?
Yes. Next item is the zoning map review. Okay, as we discussed earlier, Superintendent Weinert recommends that we adopt the revisions, the current revisions that are on the 2019 zoning map. We're required by state statute to adopt that by the end of March. So I would prefer that we adopt it as soon as possible. If everyone is in favor, I'd like to put it on the agenda for next week for adoption. And then once it gets adopted, we can continue our review. What I would like to do is ask everyone if they would please review the map and identify, I don't know every single area in this village as well as everybody else might know it. Like Jerry pointed out to us a couple weeks ago that we accidentally included 3 parcels that belong to the Park District. I had no idea they belonged to the Park District. So all of you may be aware of other little nitty parcels here and there. So I would ask that everyone look at the map and either email your notes to Nick and I, or be ready to discuss them at the next committee meeting, which is in 2 weeks.
So we're talking about the suggested revisions that we...
The revisions that are on the map right now, on the 2019 map that Nick gave us a couple weeks ago, we need to adopt those. Even though we know there's some errors, we need to just adopt those so we can move forward. Okay, we need to adopt this map. We're required by state statute to re-adopt our zoning map every year by March 31st.
Okay.
And as long as I've been coming to board meetings, I don't recall that ever happening in 5 years. So we need to get that done. After we adopt that map, then we have to look at it to make the corrections. We'll correct the neighborhood over on 147th Place to take care of this issue, right, where George is, to take care of this issue where this, family is, so they can get that property sold. There's a couple of errors that we made when we updated the zoning in, the big triangle over there off of Waverly. There were some errors. We changed the zoning on some properties we shouldn't have, and then there were some properties that we missed. So we need to fix those. But then we also have to take a look at, Nick pointed out to me today on Keating and 149th, which is a little block of single-family homes that is right behind Thornton's. That's all zoned, I believe, R4 or R5. We need to change those homes back to R1 or R2. Those got changed, because all along, because the properties next to those are condos, and across the way is condos and apartments. So that whole swath got rezoned into R5.
We're gonna fix the Knox guys.
We have got to address the Knox guys, and then we have to address some of the properties that got rezoned along 147th Street. I mean, some of those are residences that got rezoned as B2, but the problem is, even as B2s, there was no forethought given to how shallow those lots are. As B2s, they're not deep enough to support a business and then provide enough parking. So I don't know how that decision got made, but, you know, we need to think about if we're gonna keep those as B2, or if we're gonna, you know, allow them to be turned back into residences. You know, the spread pizza is B2, and that's fine. As long as I've lived here for 32 years, that's always been a business. That was never a residence. But the whole rest of the block going west of that is now B2. And those people will face the same problem. If they want to sell their house, they can't sell it unless they're selling it to somebody who wants to put a business there. So unless you have all the residents on that block who are willing to sell their house at the same time, and, you know, an angel from on high brings us a developer who's willing to knock those houses down and put up some kind of business, I don't know. I don't know what I mean, I wasn't participating back then, so I don't know what the forethought was of changing those houses from residential to B2. I don't know.
All right, so let's adopt that zoning map and do the
Yes.
rest later.
I mean, does anybody have any questions, comments, ideas?
This gentleman that just came,
Yes.
what is he zoned right now?
I believe R5.
R5.
It's just right across the street.
Right. If he was zoned R3,
No, R2.
R3 wouldn't work because then his lot would have to, well, it'd be grandfathered in though.
Those were all R1s or R2s. I think R2 maybe. Is the smaller lot size? I don't know.
Everything's fine, if everything just stays like it is right now, it's fine. It's when you go to sell the house, or
Right, right.
refinance the house,
Right.
or,
It burns down.
God forbid, there's a disaster, and that's the problem. And these zoning changes happened 10-plus years ago, and nothing's happened since then. So now we're going through the time frame where people are unfortunately passing away, or they're retiring and going to Florida, or, and they're trying to get rid of their homes. And
Right. Or in this case, the gentleman passed away, yeah, and his family can't sell the house.
so that's the problem. It's just, nothing, the thinking at the time, it didn't happen.
Now, we have the other issue. One of the owners of a Knox property came in here representing his, you know, speaking on behalf of his cousin, who owns a single-family residence on Kedzie. And all those properties along there are zoned some kind of business, commercial, and they've always been zoned that way. How on earth?
Because those homes were built, we talked about that at one meeting, those homes were built before the zoning, we did the zoning map.
Years ago?
Those homes were built, you said,
In the 50s and
yeah,
60s.
and you look at the first zoning map, it was 64, 67.
And so, from the first time we had a zoning map in 1967, were they zoned residential or commercial?
Commercial.
Okay, well, they've been zoned commercial ever since. So, I mean, I don't know what to say there either. Do we
My
really?
wife and I own 2 of them, and we sold them in 2004, and there was no issue selling them.
And they were zoned commercial then, but you sold them as a single-family residence?
One is a multi, one is a single.
Okay.
You can sell them for cash. You don't have to worry about banks then. Not to say that's what you did, I mean, but this is when you,
Yeah.
obviously get the banks involved, and that's when
Yeah.
they, you know.
So that's one other area that we have to look at. So please, everyone, take a look at the zoning map with the fine-tooth
area.
comb.
This area too? That's part of
Yeah,
the,
okay.
that's part of the zoning revision, right?
Okay. This other photo that Nick gave you, this is the property on Waverly. If you remember Terry, what was the gentleman's name? Terry Sullivan came to the last meeting, and he is interested in purchasing this vacant lot and wants to put up a 3-flat there. And his argument is that, you know, I believe that this is a commercial building, this first photo, right? And it's got apartments up on top. And then the other photo is the picture of the residence, the single-family residence to the south. So that's kind of his argument to the village. Well, you know, you've got both of these properties on either side of this lot that have, you know, living space in them, so why can't we change the zoning? Well, according to the zoning rules, you can't spot zone. And spot zoning is when you change the zoning of a piece of property to benefit the owner of that property and not benefit the greater good. So we can't spot zone, but in addition to that, if I'm not mistaken, this particular block of Waverly is zoned IO. Whether that's correct or not, maybe that needs to be changed to a business zoning and not an IO zoning. Because I don't know how much office industrial we're gonna get there. I mean, say you wanted to open up another body shop or a radiator shop. This would be, you know, a reasonable area to put it, but, you know, does it need to be, can you put in that type of business in an IO zoning, or does it have to be business? Or can it be zoned either for that type of business? I don't know.
Industrial means more than that. Like Dover Chemical, that was industrial.
Okay. So, do we really see the use for this property that's zoned IO? Do we really see that that's gonna come to Midlothian?
I don't know about industrial, but I could see business, commercial or something maybe.
Warehouse,
Well,
yeah.
Okay. So, again, if everybody could take a look at that part of the zoning map regarding Waverly Avenue.
now keep in mind, it's just, it looks big in the picture, that's just a standard residential lot, that's not a
Right, exactly, I know.
so
Yeah, it's not that big.
warehouse probably wouldn't fit on there.
Right. Not unless somebody came in and bought, you know, that lot and the house next door and redeveloped it all. So if everybody could please take a good look at that zoning map, because I know I'm not going to be able to pick out all the mistakes. Last but not least, I'm happy to report that our CRS certification was due on Friday, February 1st. We sent it in on Wednesday, the 27th or 28th, and over the weekend, we received an email from Keith Harper from NFIP that our recertification was approved.
Hey.
So I want to thank Joe and Ty for their help on, handling the public works, and of course also Carrie Pintar. And we are scheduling a CRS training for the building department staff with Carrie Pintar for the end of February. She's going to come in for a couple hours one morning, and we're going to go through, everything with the staff, because they've had really no introduction at all whatsoever towards it. Nick, unless I've left a stone unturned, is there anything else I need to talk about? Okay, I'm all done.
Thank you, Nick.
I reserve the right to ask a few more questions, though.
Trustee Gilliland.
Thank you, Mayor. We'll leave the vacancy.
Excuse me, are we gonna let the superintendent go if he'd like?
Sure. You are free to leave.
If you'd like.
You are free to walk around.
You are free to leave the building.
Does anybody else get that?
I had a couple
Can I go?
No.
Okay. Won't talk
Hurry
about
up before I
vaping
change my
tonight
mind, Nick.
since the lateness of the hour. We can talk about that another time. I'm sorry. I know. I got it. The safety committee wanted to double check on the left turns on Waverly, Avers, Lawndale, Hamlin. They wanted to double check the time frame, and they recommend, after looking at the traffic during these specific time frames, that in the morning, Waverly, Lawndale, and Hamlin be from 6:30 to 8:30 a.m., and in the evening, Avers, Lawndale, Hamlin, and Waverly be from 4 to 6:30 p.m. 4 o'clock is a busy time in that area. So if that's okay with the board, then I'll ask, and it doesn't have to be approved, up for approval by the board, then I'll ask Superintendent Sperry to start making those signs.
Yes, could I just ask, does the police chief have any issues with that?
Okay.
Maybe I should take my
Now
question
Nick's
back to
gonna
the
leave.
late, because of the lateness of the hour? Okay, I just had to ask.
I was good with the original two, ma'am, I think we're making it more convoluted than it needs to be.
With the original what?
The original recommendation was simply Waverly and Hamlin, and we're making it a lot more convoluted than it needs to be, and, everything west of the tracks, pushing the traffic towards the school, in my mind, isn't ideal.
Well,
But
people are going to go over from Waverly to Avers, and people are going to go from Hamlin to Lawndale.
yes, they are.
And
The
that's,
idea was to get the traffic away from turning by the railroad tracks, that's the safety hazard.
And Waverly's on the angle, so you're
Yeah, I
at
can't
least
see.
Avers another block away.
you can't see,
It's rough.
right? You can't see.
It's right
Well,
here.
And that
I'm gonna-
basically set them a few hundred feet that way,
Towards the school.
we're not, ideally, nobody ever makes a left turn, but that's.
Yeah, ideally.
That's not logical. So
Okay, so board, what do you want to do?
It's the board's decision.
I think just Hamlin and Waverly.
I
Well,
think
we
just
can-
Waverly.
Waverly and, yeah, Hamlin.
Waverly, Hamlin. We can see and then see what happens with the rest of the traffic. How about that?
Start with those two, and if we need to adjust, then we adjust.
Okay. All right,
Can you let the police department know when Joe's putting those up? So that they can keep an eye on the area in the first couple of days to make
right.
sure people are enforcing,
My wife will be,
understanding.
my wife will be your first ticket. Guaranteed.
It isn't in the minutes, is it? I think, Mayor, you had asked Tom Nagel if he had contacted CMAP to see if there was any projects they were contemplating from the stormwater management committee.
No,
And-
I responded to Leslie,
Right, but
just
Kate,
told her.
right, but Kate Abasic is the chairperson of the,
Right, but Leslie is the one that sent us the email. So I just responded to Leslie and said that the list looks good. Take off the water tower because it's already done. But I think that they should put on the list the projects from the,
what does Leslie have to do with?
am I? Swear to God, it was Leslie. Oh,
Les-
SSMMA, they're the ones that are going to state legislature to get projects done.
Okay, I'm confused.
Capital project for, Tom Nagel wants to have capital projects for flooding.
SSMMA believes that the new governor is going to sign a capital bill.
Right,
And she's trying to get all of the towns in the SSMMA,
Right.
their projects to Springfield so
Okay.
that we're on the list to
Okay.
get monies for these capital projects.
I sort of think we should reach out to Kate and see if any of her things maybe should be on the list too. I don't know if there's anything that could be shovel-ready, I don't even know, but
I don't know either, but wasn't Leslie at the one CMET meeting that I went to?
Leslie is transportation.
Right, but she was at the meeting and I guess
She
I
was
just
only-
assumed that she,
No, she's not been at all the meetings. So, okay, I guess I'm a little confused, but what you're saying, Don, so if we want to see if there's anything that could potentially be shovel-ready from the stormwater management capital plan, we probably need to reach out to Kate, and she can check with Strand, and that could get added to the list.
then I should have told Leslie to get a hold of Kate Nabasic.
right,
Anyways.
right, that was
but then
the
Tom-
only point, to see if there was anything that could possibly be there. I don't
And
know.
then Tom Nagel emailed you and I the next day,
Right,
because
right.
they had heard about this as well
Right.
from SSMA,
Right.
and we
He
said,
just wants to have plans on there that could qualify.
right.
And,
I guess so my question is, are we gonna get anything from Kate that could potentially be on that list?
I will email her right now to get a hold of Leslie to put things on the list. But they have to be shovel ready.
Right, I understand, but
Right.
potentially
we
there
have to
could be
ask
something.
Kate, to ask the engineer to see if there's anything there.
So in other words, Jolly Homes can't go on the list because it's not shovel-ready, because we're still waiting to get a grant to do the engineering.
Right.
Okay.
Which we haven't gotten yet. Okay. All right, last but not least, Trustee Caven asked for a report as much as possible on the land bank commercial properties, and so here it is quickly. Penny Pinchers is going to be marketed by their real estate agent that the land bank uses, and it's going to be put on whatever that is, MLS or whatever the network is, and it's going to have a sign on the property for sale and rent.
Do you know when they're going to put it up?
We talked to Russ about this 4 weeks ago.
3-4 weeks ago?
Yeah, so we'll talk to Russ again, remind him, but I'm pretty sure he told the real estate agent to do that. As far as the nail school, there is a potential buyer for the nail school property that has reached out to Trustee Kreis, and we don't know where that is at all. And we're trying to set up a meeting so that that buyer can explain to us what they want to do. And Russ Ryden from the land bank will also be there to see how he might facilitate that also, if it's a possibility.
Is it a local person?
No. It's a person that actually is Midlothian knows, so. When he tells us more about what he wants to do without assuming things which we don't know, then we'll talk to the board about that as soon as he gives us some sort of layout as far as what the heck he might want to do with it. So we're trying to set up a meeting with that.
Ross. I'm waiting to hear back from Ross.
Right.
I'll reach out to him again. And the key thing would be, can this individual and Russ come to an agreement as to the purchase price? Because that building needs a lot of work.
Right. And would the business meet the needs of Midlothian too?
Pardon me?
Would the business meet the needs of Midlothian
Midlothian,
too?
right.
So we have to, the board has to look at that too. And that is all I have.
Thank you, sir. Trustee Crowley.
Thank you, sir. I will try to be brief. I'm going to skip around a little bit. I was going to discuss the village calendar first. We were going to do a demonstration today to show everybody that the village event calendar is up and working, which means that organizations and other businesses can submit a request to have their events put on the events calendar for the village, so there is one uniform calendar that everybody can look at. We've had a number of requests submitted. They've been approved, and there are both calendars on our website, and it's working great.
And who do we send those?
There's a link. I was going to show everybody, but it's going to take about 45 minutes to show everybody, and I don't think everybody wants to stay here. So,
Oh, sure we do.
So, I don't, so I'm just going to say, if you would like to submit an event, it's not for like garage sales or things like that, but like the library put the gala on, if the VFW has an event, you can submit an event and we'll go on our events calendar, so kind of a one-stop shopping for anybody looking for what's going on this weekend in Midlothian, okay?
So who's managing it, the calendar
The
itself?
front office.
So who approves what goes on?
They have a process where they review it, and I believe either Maggie approves it or Sharon, correct?
Sharon does it, right?
And it's,
Sharon does a physical approval to update the calendar, and I believe Maggie reviews it as well.
yes, so it's pretty straightforward. You can put your name, you can put the name of the event, a link to it. Like I said, some of the examples are the gala's on there, the Knights of Columbus Spelling Bee is on there.
I'll send one in for the St. Christopher's and the St. Vincent de Paul's annual St. Joe table dinner
Right.
in March.
It's very simple, it's very user-friendly, it doesn't take a lot, you can put as little or as much information as
So
possible.
it has a request for it.
Yeah, it's a button, it shows.
Yeah, you're actually doing the entry of how
Yes.
it looks. We
Yes.
do not do that for you.
All right.
We
So-
just approve it.
Okay,
Okay.
Yes.
cool.
So it was very user-friendly, very much, to make it as simple as possible for everybody. And it seems to be going fairly well. I will be publicizing it over the next couple weeks so everybody knows about it.
If you want, I could do a quick demo afterwards, whoever's interested.
Carl, if you want to, whoever's going to be able to make the chamber meeting this week, will you please let them know who's ever going?
Oh, that's Tuesday
Yeah.
at Gumwa.
Next, I would like to ask for, make a motion to approve the emergency expense for the firewall repair at Station 2 that was done, that we discussed last week, not to exceed $2,800.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a first and a second.
Is there any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Okay, trustee Crowley,
Aye.
trustee Ivan.
Aye.
Trustee Cavani.
Aye.
Trustee Gillis.
Aye.
Trustee Kilby.
Aye.
Trustee Kreis.
Aye.
Motion.
Next, I sent an email out shortly after the firewall was repaired that it was discovered with the replacement that the wireless access point was connected to the firewall for some reason when it was installed years ago. Proven had to loan us a temporary wireless access point. Sorry, it's hard to say. So I had sent that to the board, I believe, about a week and a half ago. And I would like to make a motion to approve the purchase for the equipment, which is $563.
I'll second.
How does a firewall double as a wireless?
Very
network?
carefully.
And it's pretty common, most commercial, most ones that you buy off the shelf are like that, where they have the firewall and the wireless access point together. It's all in one unit.
I'm not gonna, yeah, we can talk about this another time, but that doesn't. Then
not best
I don't understand what a
practices.
firewall is then.
It's not best practices, sir.
Firewall just controls what kind of data goes through the wire.
I know. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Crowley.
Aye.
Trustee Kilby.
Aye.
Trustee Cavani.
Aye.
Trustee Gillis.
Aye.
Trustee Ivan.
Aye.
Trustee Kreis.
Aye.
Next on my list, I want to discuss first, the discussion of disposing a police vehicle. I sent everybody an email from Lieutenant Amrine that depicted the vehicle that we want to decommission and sell. So I wanted to bring that up for discussion today, see if anybody had any questions. If no one has any questions, I'll be adding that to the agenda for next week's approval.
I thought maybe the building department would like to use that, but I was told.
Would you like to use it?
No.
Are you sure?
Positive.
You absolutely positive.
Positive.
It only backfires when it gets below 60 degrees.
There's a hole in the floorboard, right? So you really get a great smell when you're driving down the street as well. Next, I sent everybody an email, also in the same email, discussing the purchase of a new police vehicle. This would be purchased out of Illinois seized funds, and it is below the state government purchase price because it is a model that they have on their lot and they're trying to get rid of. Chief Delaney sent an email attached to it, what we would be using, the current, no, it's not an Explorer, it's no, the one we have, the red one. The Escape, thank you. The Escape would be put used for tactical and backup undercover car. And this car would be purchased for Chief Delaney at this point to drive.
Okay.
Please. Next, I just want to, first, some information. The police department and the fire department had a number of conversations with Calcom regarding training for spillmen, and there was some difference, like how things were trained and who got trained and when we got trained. So I reached out to Motorola, which develops the spillman system, which is our CAD record management system for both police and fire. They normally charge about $2,000 a day for training. However, because I was so persuasive and so kind, they agreed to do it for us for free for 3 days. So next week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I believe, are the dates. The police and firemen will be getting their spillman detailed training here in the village. So that is, hopefully that will, huh? So I just wanted to make the board aware of that. Last but not least is I brought up a couple of weeks ago, and I believe last week, I sent out an email to everybody. We have been battling aged and decrepit and overworked servers in the village since I started as a trustee. We have had the more programs and the more antivirus software and the more monitoring software that we're putting on, as well as the continued aging of these servers, has gotten to a critical point. We've had a number of discussions from when we started searching for an IT company all the way through. We've had a number of problems. Our servers continue to be an everyday problem with day-to-day operations for the village. I think anybody could ask any of their department heads, what we've had to endure over the last 8-9 months with the servers continually going down and resetting, and it's been a nightmare.
Some of the programs don't come back
Yes.
up right away.
Then everything has to be reset.
Right.
It has been everybody's recommendation that we need to upgrade. I think that I sent out a proposal, and although it's not by any means cheap, I think myself and trustee Ivan were pleasantly surprised that they were able to get us what we were asking for at the price point that they were asking for. So I did send that out to everybody. It winds up being about $19,300 total to replace the 4 or 5 servers we currently have and replace it with a virtual server. And the virtual server will have enough memory for anticipated growth for the lifespan of the server, which is 5 to 8 years. Isn't that what he said?
So it will have sufficient space to add a building department module?
That was the number one thing we asked for, the building department module, putting Public Works in one server, and still being able to virtually create other servers as needed so that what we have now doesn't happen. And I'm sure trustee Ivan will correct me, but...
You are 100% correct.
In my own words, basically the big benefit to this virtual server is that we can create slices that will act as independent servers, so if there's a problem with that server, it's not affecting every other thing that we...
Every other operation.
Correct.
And to add to trustee, your beautiful description of what the situation is that it also makes everything on the same platform, meaning operating system, everything's current and up to date with security, and that it's much easier to maintain, because right now we have 4 servers that are a mishmash of different generations of operating systems.
Yes.
Yes,
Can I
dear.
ask this question? Has the contemplation of swapping out the server, is there going to be a need to add or change out or swap out any of the wiring, any of the cabling?
Yes, that's...
To every desktop?
The only thing,
Or to...
no, we're not getting that far yet. This is
Okay.
just simply that server room. The one thing that this does not account for is an electrician that will be needed to put some electrical thing in. I asked Proven to email Joe Sperry and the mayor on coming up with a plan for that, but this is strictly the implementation and the wiring that will be needed for the server.
And do they guarantee that when we switch over from these 4 down to this virtual one, that we're not going to lose anything?
Well, let me say this, I don't think anybody guarantees anything ever. However, we currently have a advanced data backup system that we implemented last year that takes screenshots multiple times a day of everything that's on our server.
Okay.
It has been tested, it has been...
Successful.
Yeah, but run up, or whatever they call it, spun up multiple times to make sure.
Okay.
And one of the problems that we're facing with the old equipment is that it's causing that backup system to stall because it can't keep up with the download to it or the upload or however you talk it. So This is my recommendation, that we move forward with this. We did talk to Maggie about it at the IT meeting, and told her, we have a lot of things coming. I think all of us were concerned about all of the upgrades that we have scheduled for the next 90 to 120 days, including phones, fiber, servers, all of these things that are being upgraded, and...
Should the server get installed before the fiber does?
Well, we're gonna have them they're coming up with a comprehensive plan on rolling out each and everything so that it will be little to no, as minimal interference with our day-to-day operations. What they'll do with the server is once we get approval, they will order the server. They will get it up and running as far as as much as they can at their facility, test it, do everything behind the scenes before they even bring it here. So it'll almost be they'll run both. Our 4 servers that are currently running plus the virtual server will run at the same time until they are comfortable enough to shut it off.
Okay.
So they said, downtime should be a minimal. I said, at least we should account for a couple days in case something happens, I mean, you never know. No one really knows what we're dealing with and how much, problems we're gonna have with these old servers, but the backup is what we're...
One department at a time will be migrated.
Right. Sorry.
Okay. Speaking of which, I feel like Proven is moving kind of slow on our building department software
Well,
search. I mean, last I understood, they discussed with Nick 1 or 2 options, and those weren't viable, and that was like 3 weeks ago.
well, like we talked about it on Monday, regardless of how fast or slow we move, we can't put anything else on our servers till we get new servers.
I know, but the problem,
So-
Sandy, is that we need to identify software, and we still have to do a lot of investigating and a lot of testing of that
So
anyways before
they-
that even happens.
They set up a meeting for him. Superintendent Weiner does not want to have anything that has to be customized. He
Right.
wants something that is off the shelf, so to speak, and ready to go. And there are, there's not many Excel spreadsheet off the shelf kind of boxes that fit into what I understand.
Yeah, but why do we need to have
So-
something that's an Excel spreadsheet?
I'm just using it as an example. I wasn't saying that as, that's what we would use. I'm just, I'm using, that
Got it.
so they have Laserfish that they are going to be doing a presentation, with. And they also were reaching out to Publix to make sure to see what building software module may be available through their
I mean,
company.
I asked about PubWorks right from the get-go 6 weeks ago. I don't know why they haven't even looked at that yet.
Because our system goes down 17 times a day.
Okay.
That's the truth. I mean, I could say, I could make excuses, but every day, 3 to 4 to 5 to 10 times a day, we are dealing with servers stopping, printers going out, Fire Station 2, their engineers are constantly working on just maintaining the integrity of our system.
But who do they have working on the building department thing? Is that the same people, or is there a different resource working on it?
Well, that's our Frank, who's our kind of liaison, who has been involved in making sure that there's communication between the engineers and all the departments with all the problems we've had. So I am, they told him they really want to show him this Laserfish because that's an easier program to learn in their opinion. But all of these programs that they've looked at and kind of looked at behind the scenes are going to require some customization.
Right, they'll
They
need a little bit.
They will all need some customization.
And a lot of data entry.
Yeah, and a lot of data entry.
Why data entry? Why can't we migrate the data
You
we
gotta
have?
have the data, that's data entry. Migrating the data or
When
entering the data.
when you say data entry, I'm thinking Cheryl and Gwen are going to be sitting there and typing
will
all
be.
this stuff in. No,
And they will be doing that as well as migrating.
why can't it all be migrated?
Because
Because
not all.
it's just not how it works.
So what they talk, so you can migrate some information, but, for example, I don't know who was talking about the apartment, but the apartment number, somebody was telling me about apartment number. In a lot of in the Access databases that are used, they might type an address, 123 Main Street, apartment 1. in the new program, you may not be able to take all of that data and move it over because there may be a field for apartment number. So you wouldn't be able to migrate all of the information without losing some of it. So that's the big concern is that, our access database is something that, obviously was created hodgepodge throughout the years to get just what we needed. We don't know what system is going to allow us to be able to migrate the majority of that information to minimize the amounts of data entry that need to happen.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Thank you, ma'am. What's that picture on the,
It's a piece of pine with snow on it, and it's snowing.
does everyone get their own personal picture?
Did anybody have any questions
That's
about
the theme.
No, go ahead
As you
and buy
can
it,
see,
get the sucker installed.
It's the same theme.
Yes,
It's a winter theme.
I emailed
From
it.
this thing, it kind of
Oh,
like
maybe I
ice
copied
cream
Alan
cone
on
or
it.
something. Anyways, Attorney Valdez?
Just that I am currently in discussions with the contractor who demolished the meat market property to settle the fines on costs that the village has. I should have a response by the end of the week. I informed them that whatever offer that I have made would have to be approved by the village board. That's all.
Thanks, sir. Let's see, back to the Class 8 for 14801 Cicero, that's the, I still can't know how to pronounce the name of the business, the Mexican ice cream place. After our last meeting, I was asked to go back to the business owner or the owner of the property to get more information. And unfortunately, I did get something, but we didn't have a meeting last week, so it was just a short email. He said he spent $60,000, or the business spent $60,000 on renovations. They spent $250,000 on equipment, and they expect to do $120,000 a year in sales. So,
$120,000?
That's it? That's not gonna work.
well, especially since the property tax is going to double after this year.
But 120,000 in sales doesn't make sense by the time they pay for their product, their lease, their employees.
Go by memory.
Oh.
Oh, well, there.
There we are. It's too close to home.
What's your sister's name?
Huh?
It's so,
Carol.
what is
Carol.
it? Ice cream.
You're making me hungry.
They say they get, their store in Burbank is getting a lot of Midlothian customers, but I've never been there. I'm gonna find this, I wasn't prepared. It was a low number, and I thought, it's not gonna work out.
No, they need to.
But be that as it may, I mean, what do you think? I mean, are we gonna entertain this? Because
I mean, they have done a lot of work to the building. They have spent a lot of money, and I know they're spending a lot of money on equipment, and I'm not opposed to giving them a Class 8, especially considering how much their real estate taxes are over there. The real estate taxes are ridiculous, but this is the problem. Every time, I might be preaching to the choir, but every time we give someone a Class 8, if the village does not change its, what's the document we have to file with the county every year?
Levy.
Yeah, if we don't change our levy and lower our levy, if we're lowering property taxes over here and our levy stays the same, that dollar amount that we're lowering the property tax by gets shared by everybody else.
Right.
correct.
Somebody's got to pay for it.
Yeah, so, I don't know if there's a way that we can look at our levy and tighten up some line items on our levy and lower our levy so that that doesn't happen. I don't know. But the problem is that the property taxes over there are ridiculous, and I'm getting frustrated with the county now because the county is playing this shell game. They think they're doing everybody a great favor by offering this Class 8 option for commercial businesses to lower their taxes, knowing full well that they're pushing the burden onto everybody else, not only residents, but other business owners in town. So the county, and then the county has the nerve to impose these ridiculous requirements, new ridiculous requirements on everybody as of September 1st. The county, no skin off of their nose. You know, so,
Well, when we met with the assessor, he said he was going to, Gary, tell me if I'm wrong, he said he was going to make everything fair again, so that the north side pays their fair share versus the south side, because the south side paid a disproportionately larger amount.
He was at an event last week, and then unfortunately I had an emergency at work, I couldn't make it, but I had talked to him a couple times, and that's what he says, but,
It's going to take time.
well,
I think that what he has inherited is just been unfair for so long and so ingrained that it is going to take a long time for him to fix the inequities. It's not going to be, I don't think it's not going to get fixed
No.
in a year. It's just not. There's too much to
well,
fix.
all that said, I'm still in favor of giving a Class 8 to that building. And if by some stroke of luck, a buyer comes by for the Hardee's building, I would be in favor of Class 8 on that one as well.
well, that one clearly, I can't see anyone on the board denying that. I mean, that clearly is what Class 8s are for.
Well,
Already
but
been
the-
vacant and.
Well, and the same with Wendy's. I mean, that Mexican ice cream store sat vacant for a long time, too.
Right.
They both need to have Class 8s, because otherwise no one's going to buy them.
But somewhere along the line, that their reduction is going to be picked up by
Right.
the other taxpayers. Probably us too on our residential bills.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, it's.
My tax bill on my little tiny house is $4,100.
I'll trade you.
So
Yeah, but my house can fit in your garage.
it would be, and I'm just rough numbers, say $25,000 spread out across 5,500 properties, something like that. I don't know,
Yeah.
I don't know the exact numbers, but I guess my problem is that the money they're gonna make isn't going to, so when the property taxes double after this tax year, the owner of the building's gonna have to up the lease, and the numbers they gave me, I don't see how, they put a lot of money into it, and they expect to be here a long time, but
Yeah,
they
that's
won't
got to
be
be
able
a
to afford
mistake.
the lease.
They have to be making more than $120,000 a year.
Well, it was low. It wasn't like, millions of dollars, but I'll find it. I didn't send it because it was such a short email. I'm like, I'll remember. But I do remember it was $60,000 in renovations and $250,000 in equipment. But, so yeah, $120,000.
Did they apply to the enterprise zone?
I have no idea.
Well, your sister has been around town enough, she should know about all that.
Oh, she know about it, and I know that she told him about it, but,
Because they missed out on another opportunity if they didn't apply.
I have no idea if they did or didn't.
So what do you think? Should I let them know that we're considering, or?
Who was that email from, the owner or the business? The property owner or the business owner?
Property owner.
We would consider it, but I would still like to have a little bit more of a formal letter from the business owner telling us what his business plan is. Huh?
Because the one he gave us was
Yeah,
weak at best, and then I thought I'd get something more when after that
Yeah.
last meeting, I sent them an email saying, we need more information, and then
Yeah.
I just got a little
Yeah.
3-sentence email, like, oh, you're really trying hard, but I let them know.
no.
Okay, this other thing I got in your packet here, I met with these individuals a couple times now. Attorney Valdez has sat in one meetings. They're a real estate group, they're working currently with Oak Forest on their properties around the train station. So I reached out to Troy over at Oak Forest, and he recommends them. He says they're very creative, they have a lot of contacts nationwide. They are bringing in a developer from New York, I believe, to develop the properties on the north side of the tracks into multi-use buildings.
In Oak Forest you're talking about?
Oak Forest. So, I don't, I guess, well, you see all the things they will do for us. I mean, I just feel like our downtown's been stuck in the mud for a decade or more, and we gotta try something different. And Don, I did reach out to Mayor Ryan of also from Mayor Peak out Orland. Unfortunately, the work that Filiberto did with them preceded their time in office. But I did reach out to, then I reached out to Mayor Einhorn from Crete, who they're currently working with as well. And he said they've done some good things down there. They're developing getting ready to close on a property for development. So I thought it was interesting. Attorney Valdez, did you find it to be, I don't know, sounded like a good idea. Now, I believe, hopefully he's not watching Facebook right now, but I believe I could probably negotiate that price down after the conversations I've had. And Mayor Ryan from also did say that he's looking to work with them in the next budget year. So the difference would be like in Oak Forest owns that property that they're working with. So what Oak Forest did was worked out a deal that Diliberto would get a commission off the sale of the city-owned properties. So our properties are village-owned, so Diliberto would make their money through the private owners. They would work out a deal with the private owners that were, that's how they worked out. So the only thing that we'd be out of pocket would be what you see here on the second page. And it's basically developing, putting together a marketing strategy program and using that to attract.
So would they actually go to the building owners and some of the business owners along 147th Street and see what their interest is in staying there or selling their property to be redeveloped?
Well, the Bryce Building is for sale. Mr. Bartolini would sell his whole complex there. The Messenger. He doesn't own that building, that part of the complex.
And that's right in the middle of the block, right?
But these are individuals that have been doing this a long time. They know how to work the deals, and they have the contacts that once they're given the right message and the right ideas, then they'll, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if it'll work or not, but I do like the idea that he just gave us a little example of what they would do as far as a marketing campaign, brochure, whatever, flyer. But it would be obviously a lot more than this. So, I don't know. I'd like to take a shot. But I will go back to him and try to negotiate that price down.
I just had a couple comments. I like the concept or the idea. I think it's good. But I thought if we were going to do this, maybe what we should do is put an RFQ out there to see who else is out there. Because I have nothing to compare this to. And Mayor, I didn't know you called one of the towns that I called, because I didn't know you were calling. I actually called, I called two towns. And I talked to Travis Vanstra today, who's the Economic Development Director for Oak Forest. And he told me they had city properties, which this Diliberto, is that how you say it? They put them up for a sealed bid for an auction. And he said they didn't receive any bids by the deadline. He said since then, they brought some users forward, but nothing is closed yet. And Oak Forest has declined to extend their agreement with him. But he also told me communication was an issue with them. And then
Like them not returning phone calls?
he didn't go into it, he just said and he just said communication, he said it was a mixed bag, communication was an issue. And then I saw Richton Park on here, so I called Mayor Reinbold, and he can't remember. He said, I don't know what they did for us. So he checked with Regan Stocksdale, who is their economic development person, and Regan doesn't recall. So I like the concept, I like the idea. I just think maybe it needs a little bit more investigating, and it is quite a bit of money. Maybe we should see if there's somebody else out there. That would just be, it is quite a bit of money, and after I talked to Travis, and after I talked to Mayor Reinbold, and then I was gonna try to call some more, but I ran out of time.
All right, yeah, so it's a conversation, that's why it says discussion. But he's been answering his cell phone every time I call, so I don't know, but I'll talk to him about the price, and if I don't know of anyone else that would do anything like this, so it'd be hard for me to bring someone to the board.
Well, I bet Reggie could help us find, I'm thinking maybe Reggie or some contacts even through ICSC, they would probably know companies that do this kind of work.
Well, I just want to say they're unique, they're not,
Gary and Carl, you guys went to ICSC, right?
yes.
Do you remember any
Companies like this
marketing
that-
firms that would be similar to this, that would offer these kind of services?
No, we were talking to real estate companies that had clients that were looking for specific, properties.
And there was one really, really super big company there that I thought that was a marketing company in the middle. I think it's
Oh,
their-
yeah,
they had a bunch of stuff going on, so, but that looked like multi-million-dollar kind of
right,
cost.
big price. Yeah. All right, I don't know, just more talk, but I will look more into it and get back to you. But I do like the idea. Meeting with them, talking to them. I just like some of the ideas they were throwing out just from the little bit of time they spent in town. I don't know. All right, I will bring that back up for discussion.
If I can, I'm sorry, if I could just interject one thing, are you done with your president thing? Oh, I'm sorry, I thought you were done. Go ahead.
What were we gonna talk about, this?
No, I just forgot during my business to
Oh,
just
sorry,
give
we're
everybody an
past
update. Well, but I love to ask a question.
Yes,
When you're done, I'll,
go ahead.
oh, I'm sorry. I just wanted to give everybody an update on the building across the street. Over the weekend, that was one of the properties that the fire chief had sent us a note that he had a problem, and they had a water issue. One of their water mains for their sprinkler system blew out over the weekend, pipe froze, so forth, and it flooded the whole entire basement. So the building was closed. So the owner sent a couple of his employees over to pump out the basement, in which they proceeded to put a gas-powered generator inside the building for 2 days to pump out the basement. So Fred stopped over there today, and the whole place was filled with fumes. So he shut them down. He shut down
Dollar Tree.
It'll be closed probably indefinitely because the owner said, well, we'll just have our guys fix the pipe. Well, no, they have to hire a fire sprinkler company to come in and repair the pipe, retest the whole system, get the whole thing going, and we don't really know. Fred's not sure where the electrical panel is for all this, if it's down in the basement or exactly where it is, so the building will probably...
Flooded the sub-basement. There's a basement and then a sub-basement.
Yes,
14 feet of
14
water.
feet of
yes, exactly.
Across the
So,
street?
Yeah,
Trying to pump it out with a small pump with the 2-inch hose,
yeah.
And that's,
and they let the...
Gas with the gas generator inside the building,
And they let it run
2 days.
2 days.
Yeah.
And they had to clear the
Nobody
place to
died.
keep...
Yeah, exactly. And how they
Chief-
discovered it
Chief didn't
was,
send that email to everyone?
No.
Oh,
how they discovered it was Dollar Tree employees saw water, seeping under the wall into their spot. So it'll be closed for a while until we make sure that the place is cleaned out properly the fire alarm system is properly resecured and make sure that all the electrical has not been damaged.
And 14 feet of water, is that water that unfortunately came from the village that will
No.
now?
Yeah.
Oh,
The
yeah.
fire sprinkler,
Yeah.
it came from their sprinkler.
No, I know, but that's coming from their
Yes.
billable.
Is it-
I mean,
is it
that's what-
metered?
That's a lot of
Yeah,
money.
it's
Yeah,
metered.
it's
on
metered?
their system, yeah.
That's what I'm,
It
that's
should
what I
have
was
been a
asking.
fail-safe, though. They should have had the system go in trouble, and
Well, I think the problem is when they installed their fire alarm, the chief said that they didn't have, whatever box gets hit with that the water flow valve or
Right.
whatever was.
water flow alarm, yeah.
Yeah, the water flow alarm, is that what it is? It
Yeah.
was too far away. When they installed it, it wasn't, it's not.
The pipe broke in the empty unit.
Yes, and the pipe broke in the empty unit. Well, that's where they installed it all. I guess there's some sort of buffer gap between both of the units. And the building owner installed the pipe in the area that has no heat.
Could I just ask a question? You said there were 2 other properties. You said 3 properties, right?
Hardee's.
How bad is the damage in the other properties?
Hardee's?
I don't know how.
Well, Hardee's, people were driving by and saw water flying around in there. So some random person, thank God, called. So Public Works went over and shut the water off. And so they've been trying to reach out to the owner and the property owner, but
No one's answering.
yeah,
Right.
the owner is in
Aren't they out
Las
west
Vegas.
somewhere? Yeah.
Las Vegas, and has never even
So
seen
there's,
this building,
so there's probably quite a bit of damage in there.
I'm sure.
And what was the other property?
Phoenix Behavior,
Yeah,
and the
Phoenix.
trouble alarm went off on that. That's
Yeah.
how they knew
Right.
about that. And there, because the piping is in the ceiling, so there was damage in one office area and flooding in the
Yeah.
ground.
But not extensive.
Not 14 feet of water.
No,
No, no,
And that's a full basement. That's a lot of water.
it's a lot of water over there.
well, it's only, if you ever been in there, it's a sub-basement, it's not completely the same. It's only a partial
It's only
section.
it's only under the vacant, it's, the sub-basement is not under Dollar Tree, it's only under the vacant half.
Right.
So, anyhow, so unfortunately, I'm sad to say it'll be closed for a while until the owner gets all that fixed.
Superintendent Weiner talked to Mr. or Mrs. Radnick today, and they
Yeah.
wanted to open back up and do the sprinkler later, and
No.
told them no.
No.
Chief Highway told them, no, you gotta
No.
get it fixed before we let you back open, so.
Yeah, and who knows?
I'm sorry, after standing on the street, watching Midwest meat burn to the
Yeah,
ground.
yeah, we're not, that's not getting opened again, absolutely not. So I'm sorry, I didn't
Can
mean
I
to
go back?
interrupt, but yeah,
Department head meeting today, we talked, Joe Sperry said, Superintendent Sperry said that he was going to budget for the roof this coming budget year. Are we any closer to getting,
The budgets went out to start work on it. They had a budgeted dollar amount of $200,000. In last
did
budget.
you bring in some experts from ICSC?
I got something today while we were here.
Okay.
I haven't gone through it, but it doesn't seem like it's complete, but it does seem that it is the roofing portion of it, so I will send that out.
but are we still waiting for the final whole complete thing?
Which I'm gonna, I sent an email last week. I've been following up probably every other day,
We haven't paid him yet, have we?
only our deposit, but I'm gonna talk to Attorney Valdez about what steps we need to take next.
Okay, so, can you pass along to Superintendent Sperry? It has some numbers.
It has, I saw it pop up
That's
here, so I don't really know what it
All right.
is. I just saw it said roof evaluation or
You
something.
didn't have those experts come out we met at ICSC?
No. No, I don't think they met with Joe.
Okay.
We're talking about the vinyl
Yeah.
roofing solution. Yeah, I don't think that happened.
All right, well, he's trying to put it in his budget for this year so we can get it done, so we kind of thought someone had been working on it.
I'll follow up with it again to see where it got left off.
Okay. And then, let's see, tomorrow we got the Park District meeting,
Yes.
and then Friday I got a meeting with Crestwood, Bremen Township, MWD about the Tributary C project, so I will let you know what I hear, I think they are pretty close to a final design for a project, or getting close to going to final design for the project. So hopefully it doesn't cost us anything. That's all I have. Deputy Clerk Clackey, thank you for coming tonight.
No problem.
I think Alan might be waiting. He can keep hanging out
Might
here.
be able to come in. He's been watching us in the video.
Hi, Ellen.
I will have for next week, we're going to have a bunch of minutes. I have two more along this list too, so to add to it. So we will have that, and then Alan wanted me to remind everyone about the board docs training. That is February 28th. It's a Thursday at 7 p.m.
While you brought that up, did everybody get my email about the training for iPads being offered at the library that I sent out last week?
I forgot to sign up for that.
I also talked
And when is
to-
that? Do you remember what day that was?
Valentine's Day is one of them, that's the only one I remember.
Okay, I can't remember that day.
And I also we talked to Proven on Monday. They are going to schedule, prior to that, the delivery and a training on just how to turn on the
That was what I was
iPad.
going to tell you about. You got a training.
Did you get it today? Did you get the email?
Yes, so that was good. No, go ahead, finish.
That's all I had.
So the iPads are available, and there's going to be a 1-hour training. You want me to ask the board if they would be available Thursday, February 21st, or Friday, February 22nd, 6 or 7 o'clock. It's only for an hour.
Who's doing the training?
Proven.
What day was that again?
February 21st or February 22nd, Thursday and Friday,
What time?
6 or 7 o'clock
And that's for training for what?
for the iPads.
So I got,
I don't have my phone.
I got a South Suburban Economic Development meeting at 6 on the 28th. If I get back in here in time, can you? You Alan train us on?
Yes, I
Okay.
think we can. Is anyone available on those
I have
two
to
days?
look, I don't know my phone with me, I gotta
Okay.
look. We're 21st or
Can you
22nd.
email me?
I was just gonna say, could you send out an email with the 2 dates and times?
So that's training on the iPad itself?
Yes.
Yeah, but iPad.
Some people don't, sir. I will not speak about the people to my left.
Yeah, Don and I need special handling.
I think Don knows how to use it.
The iPad?
I know how to
You
use it
do?
a little bit because I have a first-generation Apple, which has got Roman numerals on it.
Wow, I'm impressed.
He's still got the hammer and chisel.
As opposed to my abacus.
That's what I was gonna say, what about an abacus?
Are we all done?
That first before I got
Yes. It's not quite 10 o'clock, so are you sure you wanna end it so soon?
I think we discussed that other issue, that we don't need to go to closed session.
No.
Okay, seeing there's no further business coming before the board, I'm looking for a motion to adjourn.
I will gladly make the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Nay.
Meeting adjourned. In the opinion of the chair, the ayes have it.